Chapter 385. Kill. Ding. Yellow Spring Sword Technique's proficiency level has increased. Current proficiency level is 60%. Ding. Yellow Spring Sword Technique's proficiency level has reached the upper limit. When Yi Xian heard this notification in his mind, the corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Proficiency level should be related to his cultivation level. As long as he continued to break through, the number would increase again. But this was a topic for another time. Right now, he had to kill this old man first. If you don't give me a chance to speak, then I'll kill you. I'll send you to hell with my 60% proficiency level Yellow Spring Sword Technique. Yi Xian's aura surged as he turned his anger into strength and attacked madly. Originally, he and the old man were evenly matched. However, as his proficiency in the middle-grade heaven-class underworld sword art increased, he broke the balance. The situation was tilting in his direction, and the old man was gradually falling into a disadvantageous position. How is this possible? The old man's 3 disciples were shocked. Although they only had 50 dragon strength, they understood the old man's strength. But today, the old man couldn't do anything to someone whose cultivation level was lower than his. This was too surreal. What's going on? Why does Master seem to be at a disadvantage? Impossible. There must be a problem. The other must have used some underhanded method. It's only been a few months, but this person's cultivation level has soared to 5 dragons. His battle strength has also skyrocketed. This must be the effect of the precious tree sex inheritance and the rainbow fruit. The 3 of them had greedy expressions on their faces. They had come here for 2 reasons. Firstly, to avenge their junior brother. Secondly, to obtain the rainbow fruit that could allow them to break through to 60 dragon powers. Swish! At this moment, a crisp sound suddenly rang out, and the 3 saw the old man rapidly retreat. Arm! Master's arm has been cut off. The 3 were very shocked. At this moment, the old man suddenly shouted, "Bastard brat! This old man won't let you have peace even if I die." The old man's voice reverberated in the air, and then his body began to expand. Bam! After a huge sound, the old man's body suddenly exploded, sending pieces of flesh flying everywhere. Yi Xian was also astonished. What kind of F*King martial arts was this? How could he self-destruct? However, when the old man self-destructed, he had already used his true energy to protect himself, so the flesh and blood did not splatter onto him. However, the moment the old man died, a red mark drilled into his body. Ding! Host has been hit by the soul-chasing imprint. Soul-chasing mark? Yi Xian frowned in astonishment. What was this? When did he get it? He looked down and was shocked to find that his chest was stained red. Just now, he had used his Xianxia to block the attack, but what he had blocked was the old man's blood essence using a special method. It was a type of sensory imprint. What the hell is this? Yi Xian reached out and tried to wipe it off. Realizing that he couldn't wipe it off, he flipped open his shirt to take a look. There was already a red on his chest, but he still couldn't wipe it off. Just as he was thinking about it, the old man's 3 disciples looked at each other. An expert with 65 dragons of power was beheaded by Yi Xian with 55 dragons of power. This was a challenge that surpassed 10 levels. Run! The 3 of them immediately reacted and turned to run. You want to run? Yi Xian's eyes flickered, but he did not chase after them. He quietly collected the old man's interspatial ring. However, the 8 sharp blades had already shattered and caught up to the 3 of them. Rip! Rip! 2 crisp sounds were heard, and 2 heads flew. Meanwhile, the 3rd person was stopped by several sharp blades and did not dare to move at all. Don't kill me. The last person was so scared that he wet himself and hurriedly begged for mercy. Yi Xian put away the old man's interspatial ring, then slowly walked over and said, "What is this red on my body?" The young man swallowed and said slowly, "If I tell you, you won't kill me?" However, just as he said this, he felt a chill on his arm, and a fresh severed arm was thrown into the air. I'll tell you. The young man endured the pain of his severed arm and hurriedly said, "This is a secret technique of the Gui Yuan sect. It condenses all the blood in the body into a single drop and leaves a mark on the enemy's body. Anyone who practices the Gui Yuan sect's techniques will be able to sense it." So you're saying that I'm now a GPS signal transmitter? Yi Xian thought to himself. If he encountered someone from the Gui Yuan sect, he would definitely be thought to have killed someone from the Gui Yuan sect. When that time came, he would attract a lot of trouble. I've already told you. Can you spare? The young man said. However, before he could finish speaking, the 8 desolate blades were suddenly activated. Then, another head was thrown into the air. Facing an enemy, Yi Xian would not show mercy. If he let the tiger return to the mountain, it would only bring him more trouble. Then, he put away the 3 people's interspatial rings. Ding! The host has broken through to 58 dragons of power. The old man and the 3 people were quite wealthy. It allowed him to jump from 55 dragons of power to 58 dragons of power. At this moment, if the old man could be resurrected, he would probably be killed by Yi Xian in an instant. At this moment, Yi Xian noticed that there were more than 10 warriors from the family who had been captured by the old man and the other 3 for interrogation. Sir, please spare our lives. The leader of the warriors took the lead and knelt down. Then, everyone else knelt down. Although Yi Xian had killed many people, it was not to the extent of killing innocent people. Moreover, these people were not at a high level, so he was too lazy to make a move. Hand over your interspatial rings and I'll spare your lives. Yi Xian's cold voice fell into everyone's ears. Yes, yes, yes. Immediately, this group of people took off their interspatial rings. Then, the leader of the warriors handed them over to Yi Xian. They also understood that Yi Xian wanted to let them go. Otherwise, they would have become corpses long ago. Even an expert with 65 dragons of power had died at the hands of Yi Xian. If Yi Xian wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. After keeping the interspatial rings, Yi Xian quickly left and disappeared in front of this group of people. Phew! This group of people heaved a sigh of relief. Although they were penniless, it was already very difficult to keep their lives. After leaving, Yi Xian summoned Wei Zhentian and went to a quiet place. There were many ores in the old man's interspatial ring. Together with the heaven artifacts that he had collected, Wei Zhentian had the chance to eat a good meal. This time, it was a close call, but I used up my last Beast King rampage. Next, I have to go and get some corpses of the sacred beasts of 60 dragons. Yi Xian thought to himself. Beast King rampage was his greatest trump card. In this world where danger lurked everywhere, he needed to have a trump card that he could use at all times. This time, he rested for 3 full days. Chapter 386. How unlucky! His heaven-shattering method had also improved slightly in these 3 days, breaking through to 80%. As for the Yellow Spring sword technique, he still couldn't improve it, so he could only give it up for now. During this time, he also experimented and tested the Sacred Tree of Life's abilities. Indeed, the Sacred Tree of Life possessed unparalleled recovery abilities. He hardened his heart and cut off his left arm. Immediately afterwards, he saw the severed arm begin to shrink and turn into a puddle of blood. But before this, a new arm grew out from where his severed arm had been, looking exactly the same as before. The Sacred Tree of Life was indeed amazing. Yi Xian was very much looking forward to this. If a top-rank bloodline was already so strong, how strong would a divine-rank bloodline be? As for the soul-chasing seal, Yi Xian didn't pay much attention to it. He estimated that as long as he reached 65 dragons of strength, he should be able to get rid of it. 3 days later, he left on Wei Zhentian, who'd grown to 50 dragons of strength. Now, this area couldn't hold him anymore, so he had to go to a higher-level place. His destination this time was a place called Redwood Region. This territory could barely be considered a low-level territory because its lord was a spirit realm expert. Wei Zhentian's speed had increased greatly after breaking through to 50 dragons of strength. Yi Xian arrived at Redwood Region in just 2 days. 2 days of hurrying had caused Yi Xian's mouth to grow thin. He had Wei Zhentian stop outside the city, then prepared to enter the city to eat a good meal and take care of some matters along the way. What he wanted to do now was to find an auction house and pass down the precious tree sect's method of cultivating worldly treasures. Even the worst sect in Redwood Region was stronger than the precious tree sect, but that didn't mean that no one wanted the sect's methods. In fact, they might even pay a high price. After all, this was a land of great talents. If a large sect obtained it, they might be able to grow a spirit tree that was even better than the rainbow treasure tree. Of course, he also wanted to purchase some sacred beast corpses with 60 dragons of strength. Yi Xian entered the city called Devil Ape City. The demon ape was an extremely powerful saint beast, with a strength of 70 dragon powers. The city lord of the Devil Ape City had cultivated a technique that allowed him to temporarily transform into a devil ape. Yi Xian walked in. After asking around, he found a good restaurant and prepared to have a good meal. The restaurant was a good place to hear many things. This time, Yi Xian heard about the Undying Sword God. The Undying Sword God had attempted the Sword God Pagoda more than 1,000 times, but he had never succeeded. Furthermore, the Undying Sword God was heavily injured this time, so he should be able to rest for a while. Yi Xian didn't take it to heart because he was too far away from the Undying Sword God. The Undying Sword God was an expert that had surpassed the spirit's 4 realms. He had already reached the Nihility God realm. As for Yi Xian, he hadn't even reached the spirit realm. This kind of thing, it was better to just listen. When the dishes were served, Yi Xian was like a hungry tiger and began to eat like crazy. However, when he was halfway through his meal, a voice suddenly rang out. "Young masters, this way please." The waiter led the two of them upstairs. "Senior brother, where did the elders go?" "The elders went to find the Devil Ape City's city lord. They will be here soon." "City lord? How does the elders know the city lord?" "Nonsense. The city lord of the Devil Ape City was once an elder of our Gui Yuan sect. Where do you think we get all our cultivation resources from?" "So that's how it is." The two white-clothed youths chatted as they walked upstairs. At the same time, when Yi Xian heard the conversation between the two, his chopsticks couldn't help but stop. Gui Yuan sect? The elder he killed in the Precious Tree Sex plantation was a member of the Gui Yuan sect. Damn, my luck is too bad. The Gui Yuan sect is actually established in the Redwood territory. Yi Xian thought to himself. At this moment, the two of them had already gone upstairs. Suddenly, the young man in the lead frowned and looked straight at Yi Xian. From the beginning, he'd had a strange feeling in his heart. Now that he saw Yi Xian, 2 rays of light shot out from his eyes. "Senior brother, this feeling, could it be the soul-chasing mark?" The leading youth's junior brother asked in surprise. The leading youth's face was cold. This was the first time he had encountered the soul-chasing mark, so he didn't immediately react. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Xian. He stealthily placed his hand on his long sword and said in a low voice, "Junior brother, he has the soul-chasing mark on him. He must have killed someone from our Gui Yuan sect. Later, you will help me capture this person." "But, we don't know his cultivation level," the junior brother replied in a low voice. "So what? The reason why our Gui Yuan sect has been able to survive until now is because of our unity. Now that we have seen the person who killed our disciples, how can we let him go?" the youth said in a low voice. His junior brother was still a little worried and said weakly, "Senior brother, why don't we wait for the elders?" "Junior brother, you were promoted to a true disciple, but you are still so weak. Since you are afraid, I will do it myself." After the youth finished speaking, he pulled out his long sword with a clang, and charged towards Yi Xian. "Brat, how dare you kill someone from our Gui Yuan sect? Today, I will avenge my junior brother." When these words fell into Yi Xian's ears, a simple and unadorned long sword appeared in his hand. Crack! The Bahuang sword broke into 8 pieces and flew out in an instant. The youth only had 58 dragons of strength, which was the same level as Yi Xian. Facing the attack of the Bahuang wind formation, he probably wouldn't even last a second. Indeed, in less than a second, the youth was chopped into several pieces. Not only that, but his junior brother also died miserably. When the 2 heads fell to the floor of the second floor of the restaurant, the entire second floor fell silent. Someone actually dared to kill someone in the Devil Ape City? No one in the Redwood territory agreed. The Devil Ape City also had its own laws, and one of them was that it was forbidden to kill in the city. However, Yi Xian had already violated this law. After all, he had already killed someone from the Gui Yuan sect, so he might as well kill 2 more. He quickly stood up, put away the 2 people's belongings, and turned to leave. However, just as he jumped out, a loud roar resounded in the sky. "How dare you kill a disciple of the Gui Yuan sect? You are courting death." Hearing this, Yi Xian turned his head and saw 3 elders running towards him on the roof. Gui Yuan sect elders. 1 with 68 dragons, 2 with 67 dragons. Yi Xian glanced at them and his heart trembled. With his current strength, he should be able to fight against the 3 of them. However, This was the Devil Ape City. If he fought, what if the mayor of the Devil Ape City was attracted? Chapter 387. Lord of Demonic Ape City. I don't care if you're from the Gue Yuan sect. Kill. Yi Xian immediately made a decision in his heart. He estimated that if he killed these 3 people, he would at least be able to break through to 60 dragon power. Suddenly, his aura surged as he condensed a dragon-slaying sword and charged forward. Brat, you're advancing instead of retreating. Do you think the 3 of us are trash? One of the Gue Yuan sect elders was furious as he raised his hand and slapped towards Yi Xian. This slap was like a mountain pressing down on Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian did not care at all as he slashed down with his dragon-slaying sword. Dragon's Judgment. Bang! The 2 energies collided and a shockwave swept out in an instant, sending some of the stronger martial artists flying. Those who could live here were all weak. The weakest among them had 40 dragon power and would not be killed by the shockwave. However, these buildings were different. In an instant, the surrounding buildings collapsed with a loud bang. Smoke and dust filled the air as a great battle broke out. Brat, I don't care which sect you're from. Since you dared to kill my people, I want you to pay with your life. After witnessing Yi Xian's power, the leading elder roared in anger. He was different from the 2 Gue Yuan sect disciples. He was very familiar with the soul-chasing mark, so he could sense it in an instant. At the same time, he also guessed that Yi Xian should be from some big faction. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to block his attack with only 58 dragon power. Dang! The 3 of them did not dare to be careless. They instantly rushed to Yi Xian's side and attacked together. As for Yi Xian, he was also holding his dragon-slaying sword and using a mid-grade heaven-level martial art, the underworld sword technique. Although he was weaker than the 3 of them, with a 20% increase in movement speed, the mid-grade heaven-level martial art, the underworld sword technique, and the 8 desolate sword, it was only a matter of time before he killed the 3 of them. I have to end this quickly. Die, my sword falls to the underworld. Yi Xian swept out his sword and struck one of them with lightning speed, sending him flying. Although he was not able to kill him, he was able to severely injure him, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Most importantly, the pincer attack of the 3 instantly turned into 2. This must be a mid-grade heaven-level martial art. The 2 old men who were still present were stunned for a moment before they reacted. That kind of attack power had already surpassed what they knew. Kill him and get the mid-grade heaven-level martial art. The 2 of them had the same thought. However, they underestimated Yi Xian's strength. 8 desolate sword, 60% mastery of middle-grade heaven-level martial arts, and sword saint bloodline. You think you can stop me? Yi Xian suddenly raised his head and let out a long howl. His entire body moved like a ghost. His speed was even faster than the 2 of them. T dies underworld, sword descends. Yi Xian roared angrily as he slashed out again, sending an elder flying. Now, there was only 1 person left. Not good. The remaining elder's face darkened. Even if he was 10 dragons stronger than Yi Xian, the 3 of them could not do anything to Yi Xian. Now that he was the only one left, how could he fight? Retreat! The old man's eyes flashed as he explosively retreated. However, Yi Xian's speed was even faster than his. How could he leave? With 2 less obstacles, Yi Xian could focus on attacking the elder. In just a second, the elder was completely defeated by the 60% Imperial City sword techniques. Kid, you're courting death. The 2 elders who were sent flying by Yi Xian also came forward. However, they did not see that 2 beams of light had already shot out from Yi Xian's eyes. Underworld sword technique. S. Yi Xian's body suddenly emitted a sinister aura. Without hesitation, he turned around and slashed with his sword. A crisp sound was heard, followed by a head being thrown into the air. He was already heavily injured and his strength was greatly reduced. However, he courted death by sending himself to Yi Xian. Yi Xian naturally would not show mercy. After the death of the 67 Dragons Origin returning sect elder, Yi Xian took a step forward and took off his universe ring. Ding! The host has broken through to 59 dragons. Another flying dragon rose from the elder's body. He broke through in battle. The remaining 2 elders were shocked. They finally understood who they had offended. They immediately turned around and fled. Yi Xian naturally wouldn't miss the opportunity to beat a drowning dog.
With a few strides, he killed the other heavily injured old man.
After devouring the items in the Qiankuan ring, he set his eyes on the elder of the Gui Yuan sect who had 68 dragons.
City Lord, save me! The elder suddenly roared as if he had seen a glimmer of hope.
Yi Xian frowned.
Looking through the elder's silhouette, he saw a burly man rushing towards them. It was the City Lord of the Devil Ape City.
Oh no! His expression changed as he quickly chased after him. Underworld sword technique. An aura of death spread. Stop!
The burly man in front of Yi Xian shouted.
However, he could not scare Yi Xian. Yi Xian waved his arm and the third elder's head flew off. Blood splattered everywhere like a fountain. Dead. With his head chopped off, the elder's speed slowed down. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian quickly took the elder's universe ring. Ding! The host has broken through to 60 dragons of power. When this notification sounded, Yi Xian's fighting spirit burned to the extreme.
However, he did not have time to rejoice because the burly man had already rushed in front of him.
The moment the burly man punched, Yi Xian's brain suddenly stopped working. It was as if time had been pulled back to a few centuries ago. When Yi Xian came back to his senses, the wind from the punch had already arrived. No, rather than calling it a fist, it would be better to call it a huge meteorite that smashed towards Yi Xian. So strong. If I get hit, I'm afraid I'll be killed instantly. Yi Xian's heart sank. At this moment, he had no way to retreat. He could only face it head-on. Crack!
With a crisp sound, the Bahuang sword shattered and reformed into the Bahuang shield in front of him.
Coincidentally, the burly man's punch also arrived. An incomparably powerful force slammed into the 8 Desolation shield. Yi Xian did not have time to dodge and took the hit. Boom! The huge impact landed on Yi Xian's chest. Yi Xian could only feel the qi and blood in his body churning. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, he also felt that several of his bones were broken. Bam! The burly man's punch sent Yi Xian flying. However, he did not follow up with another attack. Chapter 388. The Fierce Battle. You killed 3 of them? The muscular man looked at Yi Xian in disbelief. There were 7 dragons flying around him, all of them big. 70 dragon strength. He was the Devil Ape City's mayor. What the F***ck? It's just 2 more dragons. Isn't that a little too strong? Yi Xian felt a chill in his heart. If the Devil Ape City's mayor took advantage of the situation and attacked him, he would be in danger. However, he was only hit by that punch because of the Devil Ape City's mayor's sneak attack. Otherwise, he would not have been hit. They wanted to kill me. Do you think I will be killed by them? Yi Xian said word by word. He was stalling for time so that the sacred tree of life could heal his injuries. In the blink of an eye, the broken ribs were broken down and replaced by new ones. This was the powerful recovery ability of the sacred tree of life. As long as he was not killed instantly, he would be able to heal indefinitely. The Devil Ape City's mayor was stunned. He narrowed his eyes and said, "You have the soul-chasing mark of the Gui Yuan sect. Did you kill the people of the Gui Yuan sect?" Yi Xian was also stunned. In the next moment, he suddenly remembered the conversation between the 2 Gui Yuan sect's direct disciples in the restaurant. The Devil Ape City's mayor was also an elder of the Gui Yuan sect. Naturally, he also practiced the techniques of the Gui Yuan sect. He wanted to kill me and steal my treasure. Can't I resist? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and said. The Devil Ape City's mayor snorted. What you said has no evidence. However, it is a fact that you killed 3 elders of the Gui Yuan sect. Surrender and I'll spare your life. Yi Xian was able to kill 3 elders of the Gui Yuan sect. This was enough to prove his aptitude. A person with such aptitude would definitely have an extraordinary identity. In the Redwood territory, there were many cities that were more powerful than the Devil Ape City. There were even families that were more powerful than the Devil Ape City. He was testing Yi Xian. However, he did not know that Yi Xian came from a small continent. No, rather than a continent, it would be better to call him a small island. Therefore, Yi Xian naturally would not reveal his name. It's impossible for me to surrender. If you want to capture me, we'll have to see if you have the ability to do so. Yi Xian laughed coldly. At this time, his injuries had already healed, and even his true qi had recovered to its peak. I'll give you another chance. You better cherish it. Your 60 dragon power is nothing in my eyes. The demonic ape city master narrowed his eyes. How do you know that I will definitely lose to you if we haven't fought? Yi Xian's expression turned cold. Just now, he had killed 3 elders of the Gui Yuan sect with a strength of 58 dragons, and one of them was 68 dragons. That was a strength that exceeded the strength of 10 dragons. Now, he had broken through to 60 dragons, while Devil Ape City's city master had 70 dragons of power. That was a difference of 10 dragons. However, Devil Ape City's city master strength was not something that an ordinary 70 dragons expert could compare to. He had to take this seriously. After all, the sacred beast corpses that he had devoured were not enough for him to use Beast King Rampage once. Alright, since you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, then I'll see what right you have to kill people in my territory. The demonic ape city lord shouted loudly as he madly dashed towards Yi Xian. He didn't know when he'd put on a pair of gloves. Sorrowful emptiness palm. Devil Ape City Master struck out with his palm, and a huge palm print destroyed the street as it rushed toward Yi Xian. Yi Xian had no intention of retreating. He condensed his Dragon Slayer sword and used the Bahuang sword to make up for the difference in true chi between him and Devil Ape City Master. In terms of true chi, he was not inferior. In terms of speed, he was not inferior either. In terms of attack, he was even more superior than Devil Ape City Master. Underworld sword technique, a mid-tier heaven-level martial art, and the power of his sword Saint bloodline allowed him to easily defeat the huge palm print. You do have some ability. Devil Ape City Master raised an eyebrow. He had underestimated Yi Xian. Again. Devil Ape City Master roared and rushed forward. This time, he wanted to fight in close combat. At this time, countless people had gathered on the rooftops in the distance. A battle of this level was not something that could be seen everywhere. Some talented people could learn a lot from this battle and improve themselves. However, no one present could see Yi Xian's speed clearly. They could only hear the huge movements and afterimages. So strong. Where did this kid come from? He can actually fight to a draw with the city master. Nonsense. How can it be a draw? The city master still has a trump card that he hasn't used yet. Yes, there's still the devil ape transformation. The city master seems to have cultivated this martial art to an extremely high level. Once he uses it, he can increase the strength of 5 dragons. Increasing the strength of 7 dragons by 5 dragons. That's 75 dragons. That's terrifying. A group of people began to chat. On the battlefield, the battle was intense. Tendon-splitting hand. Underworld sword style. Yi Xian and Devil Ape City Master both used their best martial arts. The latter's tendon-splitting hand had been cultivated to the pinnacle and was extremely powerful. Every time Yi Xian was hit, the meridians in his hand would instantly rupture. Fortunately, he had the bloodline of the sacred tree of life. In less than a second after his meridians ruptured, they would automatically reconnect. Therefore, Devil Ape City Master's move had no effect on him. What's wrong with this kid? Normally, a person's entire arm would be crippled after being hit by my palm. But I've already hit him 3 times, and he's still able to fight back as if nothing happened. Devil Ape City Master thought as he attacked. He could not understand what was going on with Yi Xian. Yi Xian, on the other hand, was secretly laughing. He had deliberately extended his left hand to let his opponent hit him. His goal was to exhaust his opponent's true energy. At this time, he and Devil Ape City Master seemed to be evenly matched, but in fact, he had the upper hand. However, Devil Ape City Master's realm was higher than his, and his true energy was more abundant. He did not care about a mere 3 palm strikes. The battle between the two was extremely intense. They fought from outside the restaurant all the way down the long street. The entire street was destroyed by them. Fortunately, the people had already dispersed. Otherwise, they would have been caught in the crossfire. A battle of this level could easily affect the crowd. If they were not careful, there would be heavy casualties. Kid, I admit that you're very strong, but you're just wasting time. I'll give you one more chance. As long as you surrender, I'll guarantee your safety. Devil Ape City Master shouted. This was the 3rd chance he had given Yi Xian. City Master really knows how to joke. Yi Xian snorted coldly and continued to attack. If Devil Ape City Master only had this much ability, he would be exhausted to death sooner or later. Moreover, he had the strength to retreat. If he wanted to leave, Devil Ape City Master would not be able to do anything to him. The two fought fiercely along the long street from the east to the west, destroying nearly half of the city. At the same time, Devil Ape City Master's true energy was reduced to less than half. Chapter 389. Kill as usual. This kid only has 60 dragon powers, but he has the ability to fight against me. The weapon in his hand should be a mid-grade heaven-class weapon, and the martial arts he is using should also be a mid-grade heaven-class martial arts. Where did he come from? The demonic ape city lord frowned. Yi Xian's identity was too mysterious, so he did not kill him. If it were anyone else, he would have used his trump card and killed them.
As he pondered in his heart, he was completely unaware that he and Yi Xian had already fought all the way to his doorstep. The huge commotion immediately attracted the attention of the experts in the City Lord manor.
Isn't that the City Lord?
The City Lord is fighting with someone.
He's so strong. Who is that kid? He can actually fight the City Lord to a draw? Cut the crap. Go and help. A few experts with 60 dragon powers shouted and joined the battle. The demonic ape City Lord did not stop them. He believed that more people could help him capture Yi Xian. However, what he did not know was that these people were simply giving Yi Xian benefits.
Ha ha ha, the heavens are helping me.
Yi Xian's eyes widened. What he lacked was given to him. As long as he broke through once or twice, he could kill the demonic ape City Lord. This time, there were 6 people who rushed out of the City Lord manor. All of them had 66 dragon powers and above, and the strongest one had 68 dragon powers. The 6 of them joined the battle instantly, increasing the pressure on Yi Xian. It would be great if I could use Beast King's rampage once. Yi Xian felt helpless.
Although these people were benefits, it was not that easy to kill one of them while being surrounded by 7 people.
If he had enough sacred beast corpses, he could use Beast King's rampage. This would allow his 60 dragon powers to instantly increase to 80 dragon powers, giving him the ability to kill everyone in an instant. Unfortunately, he did not. I'm still a little short of corpses.
As long as I kill 1 or 2 people, and if my luck is not too bad, I should be able to gather enough corpses. Yi Xian thought as he retreated. These people were all experts with 60 dragon powers, so there would definitely be sacred beast corpses with more than 60 dragon powers in their rings. Therefore, he decided to give it his all.
Brat, die!
The 68 Dragons martial artist suddenly shot forward and thrust his sword at Yi Xian's chest.
But this time, Yi Xian had no intention of dodging. Let's fight! In the face of this person's attack, Yi Xian did not retreat.
Instead, he charged forward with his chest puffed out.
What? The 7 people present were all shocked. Was he going to risk his life? Hiss! While they were still in shock, a crisp sound rang out. They saw that Yi Xian's chest had been pierced by a long sword.
It was only half a finger's distance away from his heart.
Crazy! What a lunatic! This was the 7 people's evaluation of Yi Xian.
Mother Fastress Kerr, I didn't get hurt for nothing.
I'll make you pay with your lives. Yi Xian gritted his teeth and sent out a slash imbued with the aura of death, killing the cultivator who had pierced his chest. Then, he put away the other party's interspatial ring. Devour! Ding! The host has broken through to 61 dragons of strength. This was good news. But this was only the first piece of good news. The corpses are enough. Yi Xian's eyes shone brightly. What? Seeing Yi Xian suddenly form a new dragon, the 6 people present were all shocked. Not good. Suddenly, the Devil Ape City Mayor raised an eyebrow. He felt that Yi Xian was exuding an extremely dangerous aura, so he immediately made a decision. Devil Ape Transformation. The Devil Ape City Mayor immediately used his trump card. Then, his hair began to grow wildly. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into a devil ape more than 2 meters tall. The number of dragons flying around him also increased to 75 dragons. Haha, you can do it, but so can I. Yi Xian roared at the sky. He ignored the long sword that had pierced his chest and immediately used Beast King Rampage. A formless pressure instantly spread out. 8 large dragons wriggled around his body. 80 dragons of strength. 80 dragons of strength, coupled with the Beast King Bloodline's 2 agility advancements, made Yi Xian as fast as lightning. Rip! Rip! Rip!
Heads were tossed into the air one after another, accompanied by crisp sounds. In the blink of an eye, 6 experts from the city mayor's mansion were killed by Yi Xian. Ding! The host has broken through to 62 dragons of strength. When this notification sounded out, Yi Xian's number of flying dragons increased once again. 81 dragons. His speed also increased again. Now, the Devil Ape City mayor knew that he had offended a peerless genius. This time he would pay the price in blood. Damn it! The Devil Ape City master cursed in his heart. Soon after, his head flew into the air. The Devil Ape City mayor was dead. After his death, his interspatial ring naturally fell into the hands of the berserk Yi Xian. Ding! The host has broken through to 64 dragons of strength. As a city mayor, the Devil Ape City mayor was naturally wealthy. However, he was not stupid enough to put everything in his interspatial ring. Therefore, he only allowed Yi Xian to break through to 2 dragons of strength. However, Yi Xian's Beast King rampage had just begun. He did not want to waste this opportunity. Therefore, he chose to rush into the city mayor's mansion. Oh no, the city mayor is dead. The killing god is rushing in. The city mayor's mansion was in chaos. However, these people were relieved that Yi Xian did not intend to start a massacre. His goal was only the interspatial ring. Ding! The host has broken through to 65 dragons of strength. Ding! The host has broken through to 66 dragons of strength. As time passed, Yi Xian gained more and more. Every time he broke through, his experience points would increase. Therefore, the raid on the city mayor's mansion only allowed him to break through to 2 dragons of strength. However, this was not bad. Now, he had a speed that was comparable to 80 dragons of strength. On this day, the Devil Ape City was in chaos. News of the Devil Ape City mayor's death would probably spread very quickly. I killed the Devil Ape City mayor and raided the city mayor's mansion. Therefore, the Lord should be targeting me. When the time comes, my portrait will be put up as a wanted criminal. Instead of that, I might as well cause another ruckus. Yi Xian left the Devil Ape City and rode Wei Zhentian away. This time, his destination was the Gui Yuan sect. He wanted to use the soul-chasing mark to cause another ruckus before the news spread. Now, he understood the strength of the Gui Yuan sect. The sect leader was an expert with 85 dragons of strength. The sect had 10,000 disciples, 3,000 protectors, and 100 elders. Yi Xian estimated that this time, he should be able to break through to 70 dragons of strength, or even higher. Chapter 390. Attack the Gui Yuan sect. The Gui Yuan sect was located to the north of the Devil Ape City. Even an expert with 50 dragon power would need to spend 3 days to reach there. However, Yi Xian rode on Wei Zhentian and only spent 2 hours to arrive. At this moment, he was already 10,000 meters above the Gui Yuan sect. He commanded his might shakes the heavens to descend. When it was 1,000 meters away, he jumped down and landed in front of the Gui Yuan sect with a boom. He even shattered the huge stone tablet in front of the Gui Yuan sect. What? This big movement immediately attracted the attention of the guarding disciples. Someone actually dared to destroy the stone tablet of the Gui Yuan sect. He was really looking for death. How dare you behave so atrociously in my Gui Yuan sect? Everyone, be careful. He has a soul-chasing mark on him. Quick, inform the protectors and elders. The disciples immediately surrounded him, but no one dared to step forward. The masked man, Yi Xian, descended from the sky and destroyed the stone tablet of the Gui Yuan sect. Normal people would not dare to do such a thing. As for these disciples, they only had 50 dragon power at most. If they went up, they would be sending themselves to their deaths. Yi Xian would not foolishly wait here for the elders to arrive. He looked around and his figure flashed. Following that, cries of agony rang out one after another. Ah, my hand! My interspatial ring! Everyone, leave quickly. This person wants to rob our Gui Yuan sect. In front of the Gui Yuan sect's mountain gate, there were cries of anguish. These disciples could not catch up to Yi Xian's speed and could only cry and shout. After collecting the interspatial rings, Yi Xian immediately rushed into the Gui Yuan sect. He wanted to increase his strength before the higher-ups of the Gui Yuan sect arrived. In the Gui Yuan sect, those with more than 55 dragons could become protectors, and 60 dragons were elders.
Of course, the elders were also divided into ranks.
The strongest elder had the strength of 80 dragons, and the sect leader was an expert with the strength of 85 dragons.
In the vigor realm, every advancement was extremely difficult. If one did not have the assistance of heavenly and earthly treasures, they would have to work hard. Therefore, most people would stay in their own residences to cultivate. After Yi Xian broke through the mountain gate, he directly entered the residence of the disciples and began to rob from door to door. These disciples were not strong enough to stop Yi Xian at all.
Among them, there were some female disciples who were in the middle of bathing and had their interspatial rings taken away by him.
The Gue Yuan sect was in chaos. No one was able to grasp the exact location of Yi Xian. After sweeping through the residences of the Gue Yuan sect disciples, Yi Xian focused his attention on the buildings. The weapon shop, the martial arts pavilion, the spirit herb hall, and even the cafeteria were all visited by him. I've finished cleaning up the outer sect. Let's head to the inner sect now. Yi Xian thought to himself as he rushed towards the origin returning sect's inner sect. This time, he had gained quite a bit, allowing him to break through from 66 dragons to 67 dragons. This trip was indeed worth it. The Gue Yuan sect's inner sect was the most important. The inner sect disciples were stronger than the outer sect disciples. Furthermore, the elders and protectors all lived here.
Although there weren't many of them, the value of the inner sect was higher than that of the outer sect.
Yi Xian took advantage of the fact that the Gue Yuan sect hadn't reacted yet to plunder without restraint. At this moment, in the Gue Yuan sect's Gue Yuan treasure hall, 3 people were sitting there and chatting. Son, it's not easy for you to come back. Why don't you stay for a few more days before leaving? The Gue Yuan sect leader looked at his son whom he hadn't seen for many years and said slowly.
The young man in front of him smiled and shook his head. Father, I came back this time because it was on the way.
A disciple of the sect who was traveling outside found a relic by chance, so I came to investigate. Oh, what kind of relic is it? The Gue Yuan sect leader asked curiously.
This? The young man was stunned and turned to look at the old man beside him.
It's fine. The exploration this time will be led by you juniors. I am only following orders to ensure your safety. You can decide for yourself.
The old man squinted his eyes and said.
The young man nodded and said, Father, this relic is said to have been built by the 6th Lord of the Redwood Territory, Qi Lian. The 6th Lord? The Gue Yuan sect leader was stunned. The Gue Yuan sect was under the jurisdiction of the Redwood Territory, and the current Redwood Territory Lord was the 8th Lord. Therefore, he understood immediately. The 6th Lord, it is said that he had a great battle with an expert and then went missing. At that time, he had already broken through to level 1 Qi controlling realm and his strength was extraordinary. Moreover, he was proficient in refining corpses. He had once refined 2 silver corpses that were comparable to level 1 Qi controlling realm experts. The young man explained. Yes, I have also heard that these 2 silver corpses were 2 generals under his command when they were alive. However, they were killed because of betrayal and were refined into silver corpses by him. The Gue Yuan sect leader nodded and said, However, although the 6th Lord is dead, there must be danger in the relic. I'm afraid. Father, you don't have to worry. We are not entering the relic this time. We are just cleaning up the area around the relic. Those sacred beasts only have 80 dragon strength at most. They are no match for me. When the young man said this, he habitually revealed a proud expression. He was 23 years old this year and had already broken through to 80 dragon strength. He was the disciple of an elder in the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect. The Heavenly Hatred Sword sect was quite famous in the Redwood Territory. It was said that the sect leader had already surpassed 100 dragon strength and was the #1 expert under the spirit realm. I see. Then I can rest assured. The Gue Yuan sect leader nodded. All right, Father. I should leave now. My senior and junior brothers are waiting for me.
After the young man finished speaking, he stood up.
However, at this moment, rumble. Suddenly, a series of loud noises came from outside the main hall, causing the 3 of them to frown. What's going on? Don't you know that sparring is prohibited within 3 miles of the Gue Yuan Treasure Palace? The Gue Yuan sect leader frowned.
Just as he finished speaking, an elder rushed in and said, Sect leader, this is bad.
Something big has happened. What happened? The Gue Yuan sect leader frowned and asked.
He felt that something big had happened. Sovereign, a thief has invaded our Gue Yuan sect and robbed our Gue Yuan sect's disciples, guardians and elders.
The elder reported. Thieves? Robbed?
The Gue Yuan sect leader was stunned and asked, "What is this person's realm?" The elder paused for a moment and said, "When I saw him just now, he was at 69 dragon strength.
Now I am not sure." What do you mean?
The Gue Yuan sect leader did not understand.
It's like this.
According to the reports of the disciples, when this person appeared in front of our Gue Yuan sect, he only had 66 dragon strength. Then, he kept breaking through, 67 dragon strength, 68 dragon strength, 69 dragon strength. The elder said while swallowing his saliva.
What?
In such a short period of time, he broke through from 66 dragon strength to 69 dragon strength?
And he is still breaking through?
The Gue Yuan sect leader was shocked. Not only that, the young man and the old man were the same.
Chapter 391.
Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor. Nyoibo Studio Ransacking. Then why didn't you capture him and bring him to me?
The Gue Yuan sect leader asked in surprise.
The elder swallowed his saliva and said, "We don't have a choice. Although this kid only has 69 dragons of strength, his speed is astonishing. Dozens of elders have already been heavily injured by him, and he has taken all of their universe rings. Right now, he is fighting with the Great Elder. 69 dragons of strength against the Great Elder who has 80 dragons of strength?"
The Gue Yuan sect leader opened his eyes wide.
This was a battle that surpassed 11 dragons of strength.
The elder added, "Sect leader, you should go quickly.
If you are too late, he will break through to 70 dragons of strength. Let's go." The Gue Yuan sect leader's face turned cold as he strode out of the Gue Yuan treasure hall. The young man and the elder looked at each other and followed him. Although the young man was a disciple of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect, he was once a member of the Gue Yuan sect.
Naturally, he would not allow such a thing to happen.
At this moment, in the large square of the Gue Yuan sect, two figures were fighting.
One of them was Xianxia.
"Ha ha ha, Great Elder, you are finished.
Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld."
Xianxia laughed and swept out his sword.
Immediately after, an arm was thrown into the sky.
The elder in front of him had a gloomy expression as he was sent flying with a kick.
Xianxia caught the broken arm and took off the universe ring.
Ding! The host has broken through to 70 dragons of strength. When he heard the notification, the corners of Xianxia's mouth couldn't help but curl up. No wonder so many people would engage in this kind of business. It turned out that it was so profitable. However, Xianxia was only ransacking the Gue Yuan sect. From the beginning until now, he had not harmed anyone's life. The Great Elder's arm was suddenly chopped off, but as long as it was not chopped into pieces, it could be reattached. He only needed to rest for a while. When the surrounding people saw the Great Elder with 80 dragons of strength being chopped off by Xianxia and then kicked away like a piece of trash, they were shocked speechless. Who was this person wearing a smiley face mask? What kind of grudge did he have with the Gue Yuan sect?
What should we do?
Even the Great Elder was defeated. Only the sect leader can suppress him.
Not necessarily.
Didn't you see how much faster that brat is than the Great Elder? And now that he has broken through, even if the sect leader comes, I'm afraid. Humph, even if sect leader can't win, can't he join forces with the other elders? A group of people from the Gue Yuan sect whispered to each other as their gazes landed on Xianxia.
"Brat, who the hell are you?"
The Great Elder who had lost an arm questioned. Hee, your Gue Yuan sect is arrogant and despotic, so I am here to suppress your arrogance."
Xianxia smiled slightly.
The head elder of the Gue Yuan sect had a cold expression on his face. He had also heard about what had happened to the disciples of the Gue Yuan sect. Today, he had finally gotten his revenge.
"If you have the guts, don't leave.
The sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect will be here soon." The Great Elder shouted in a low voice.
"Do you think I can't tell that you are trying to provoke me?
However, since you have placed your hopes on your sect leader, I will go along with your wishes. I want to see what the sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect, an expert with 85 dragons of strength, is capable of."
Xianxia just stood there quietly.
When he finished speaking, 3 figures entered his eyes.
"It's the sect leader. The sect leader is here."
Haha, this brat is dead for sure.
He actually dared to rob our Gue Yuan sect. The sect leader will definitely skin him alive.
Isn't that the young sect leader? I heard that the young sect leader was accepted as a disciple by an elder of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect.
I didn't expect him to come back today. When this large group of people saw the sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect, their morale immediately rose. The sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect quickly walked down. He looked at Yi Xian and asked in shock, "Who are you? You are the sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect?"
Yi Xian asked in return.
That's right. After receiving the sect leader's answer, Yi Xian continued, "Your people from the Gue Yuan sect once offended me and left a soul-chasing mark on me. Therefore, I am here today to seek justice." When the sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect heard this, he couldn't help but frown. "You have no evidence. Why should I believe you? If that's the case, then what are you waiting for? Aren't you going to cut me into 8 pieces?" Yi Xian said coldly. "All right, since that's the case, then let me see what you're capable of." The sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect took out a long sword and slowly walked over. Yi Xian also gripped the Bahuang sword tightly and raised his attention to the sect leader. The sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect was a sect leader. He was an 85 dragons expert. He had probably already trained his martial arts to 100% mastery. As for Yi Xian's heaven-shattering body technique, he had just trained it to 90% mastery. "I can still use Beast King's Rage once, but it's too wasteful. Let's try it first." Yi Xian held his sword and walked over. The two of them stood opposite each other. The atmosphere was very tense. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, they finally made their move. Pang! Boom! Clang! The two of them began to fight. It was just the beginning, but the battle was already very intense. Among everyone present, there were probably less than 10 people who could see the two of them clearly. "Where did this brat come from? His talent is not any worse than yours."
The old man beside the junior sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect narrowed his eyes and whispered.
The junior sect leader of the Gue Yuan sect's eyes shot out 2 rays of light. He felt that Yi Xian seemed to be even younger than him. This made him feel a little unhappy. "Humph. Father will definitely skin him alive."
The young man snorted.
"That might not be the case. Why don't we make a bet?"
The old man suddenly said with interest.
"Elder Yen, what do you want to bet?"
The young man asked curiously.
"What do you want?"
The old man asked back.
The young man paused and replied, "I heard that Elder Yen obtained a 500-year-old dragon's bloodgrass a few days ago. All right, if your father wins, I will give you this 500-year-old dragon's bloodgrass. It will be enough for you to break through to 85 dragons. If your father loses, I don't need anything from you. Just treat it as a slap to my own face." The old man said very straightforwardly. "Deal."
The young man immediately agreed.
This was a sure-win deal. If his father won, he would get a 500-year-old dragon's bloodgrass. If his father lost, he would not lose anything. Even a fool would do this deal. They looked at the battlefield. At this moment, the battle had already reached its climax.
Although only 10 seconds had passed, Yi Xian and the sovereign of the Gue Yuan sect had already exchanged more than 100 blows.
"Brat, I admit that you are very strong. But do you think that if we continue to fight, you can win against me?" The sovereign of the Gue Yuan sect said coldly. "How do you know I can't?" Yi Xian asked back. Chapter 392. Being hunted after all, Yi Xian's recovery ability was extremely strong. Even after fighting for so long, he was still in peak condition. On the other hand, the Gue Yuan sect leader's vital energy and physical strength were both decreasing rapidly. If the battle continued for another half a minute, the difference between them would be obvious.
"Humph, since that is the case, I will show you the Gue Yuan sect's secret martial art."
The Gue Yuan sect leader roared as his vital energy surged.
In the blink of an eye, his strength increased by 3 dragons.
88 dragons.
What?
Yi Xian was slightly surprised. He did not expect the Gue Yuan sect leader to have such a martial art. However, his expression only changed slightly. Soon after, a smile appeared on his face. "You know it, so do I." Yi Xian's eyes widened as the hair on his body grew thicker. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into a devil ape. This was the devil ape transformation of the devil ape city mayor. Yi Xian had obtained this after killing the Devil Ape City Mayor. It was also a heaven-level martial art. However, the Devil Ape transformation did not have any proficiency. Every time it was used, it would consume 1 drop of the Devil Ape King's blood essence. The Devil Ape City Mayor only had 3 drops of the Devil Ape King's blood essence in his yin and yang ring. He had used it once, so Yi Xian had obtained 2. Now, Yi Xian had also used 1.
In the blink of an eye, 70 dragons of strength increased to 75 dragons of strength, which was even more than the Gue Yuan sect leaders.
Originally, Yi Xian and the Gue Yuan sect leader's speed were about the same. However, now that both of them had used martial arts to increase their strength, the gap had widened. Yi Xian's speed had surpassed the Gue Yuan sect leaders. What? The Gue Yuan sect leader was so shocked that he almost vomited blood. He did not expect Yi Xian to know the Devil Ape transformation of the Devil Ape City Mayor. This was a tragedy. I originally wanted to use it sparingly, but you forced me to use it. Don't blame me for this. Yi Xian's eyes flashed as his body moved as fast as lightning. He rushed in front of the Gue Yuan sect leader.
Not good. The expression of the old man who was watching from afar changed.
His figure also dashed out rapidly. His speed far surpassed that of Yi Xian.
However, this had happened so suddenly that he was a little slower. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld.
Hiss.
With a crisp sound, one of the Gue Yuan sect leader's arms was thrown into the air.
Seeing this, Yi Xian's eyes turned red.
An 85 Dragon Power Expert's Universe Ring. How many good things would there be? However, just as he was about to succeed, a burst of energy suddenly attacked from the side.
What?
Yi Xian turned his head and saw a palm coming at him. This power was definitely not something he could block.
What? 120 dragon power?
Through the shadow of the fist, he discovered that there were 12 flying dragons rising around the elder.
12 big flying dragons.
This meant that this old man was a super expert with 120 dragon power. It was rumored that when a martial artist broke through to 100 dragons, they could attempt to break through to the spirit realm. 120 dragons was far more than 100 dragons. How could there be a super expert with 120 dragons here?
Damn it, I'll go all out. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. Without hesitation, he used Beast King Rampage. Boom. A burst of energy suddenly rose. Yi Xian's 75 dragons instantly increased to 99 dragons. Bang! The palm hit Yi Xian and sent him flying. This time, the old man was also dumbstruck. Yi Xian's 75 dragons suddenly increased to 24 dragons. What kind of heaven-defying martial art was this? He was very surprised. At this moment, Yi Xian landed on the ground.
This old man underestimated my strength.
That was close. I was almost killed by his palm.
Yi Xian spat out a mouthful of blood.
His entire body was aching.
He knew that if the old man attacked with all his strength, he would not be able to survive even if he increased his strength to nearly 100 dragons.
He would definitely be smashed into minced meat. Retreat! Facing such a powerful enemy, he did not hesitate at all. He immediately jumped up and ran away. This kid can't be left alive. The old man's eyes flashed. They were full of murderous intent. He was not afraid of Yi Xian. He was afraid that Yi Xian would return to the Origin sect after escaping. After all, he was about to leave the Origin sect. He couldn't possibly stay here, right? Therefore, Yi Xian had to die. In the blink of an eye, he gave chase. But in the next moment, he realized that Yi Xian's speed was not any slower than his. How was this possible? He can surpass the speed of an 85 dragon warrior with only 75 dragons of strength. Now, he is evenly matched with my 120 dragons of strength. This kid can't be left alive, the old man said in his heart. He followed closely behind Yi Xian. The two of them quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Yi Xian's speed was not slower than the old man's. However, he had used a technique. Therefore, the old man only needed to chase for a while before he could catch up. Damn it, what a blunder. Why is there a super expert with 120 dragons of strength here? Yi Xian cursed in his heart. If the old man had not suddenly attacked him, he would have obtained the Origin sect leader's universe ring and broken through again. It was also because of this old man that he gave up on the interspatial ring and turned tail to run.
After all, if he was caught by the old man, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, the current him was still in danger.
Kid, don't waste your energy. You can't escape. The old man's voice sounded. Bull**T. Yi Xian could not help but curse. At this moment, he had already left the origin sect. He thought quickly in his mind. Suddenly, he remembered that there was a dangerous place north of the origin sect.
Even an expert with 100 dragons of strength would not dare to enter.
It seemed that he could only use this place to get rid of the old man. After all, he still had Wei Zhentian as his trump card. If the old man wanted to catch up to him, he would have to grow a pair of wings or break through to the spirit realm. That's the place. Go. Yi Xian gathered his courage and started to run frantically. This kid wants to enter the netherworld abyss. He's courting death.
The old man seemed to have seen through Yi Xian's intentions and snorted in his heart.
The netherworld abyss was the most dangerous place in the Redwood territory.
Even an expert with 120 dragons of strength would not dare to enter.
Although Yi Xian had the strength of nearly 100 dragons, once he stepped in, it was possible that he would fall into a state of eternal damnation. Most importantly, the old man knew that there was a time limit for Yi Xian to suddenly become stronger. Once the time was up, if he stayed inside, he would definitely die. The old man was not in a hurry because the duration of Yi Xian's Beast King rampage had exceeded his expectations. He estimated that Yi Xian could slow down at any time. The two of them maintained this distance and slowly approached the netherworld abyss. Yi Xian's Beast King rampage lasted for a long time, but the Devil Ape transformation did not have much time left. Oh no, do I have to use the Devil Ape transformation again? Chapter 393. The netherworld abyss. Yi Xian had only obtained 2 drops of the Devil Ape King's blood essence. He had only used 1 drop just now. In other words, he could only use the Devil Ape transformation 1 more time. However, if he didn't use it, he would definitely be caught. But at this moment, the netherworld mist? Yi Xian opened his eyes wide as if he saw hope. Not far ahead was the netherworld abyss, the most dangerous place in the Redwood territory. This time, he had to risk his life again. The old man also saw the netherworld abyss and hesitated. He was wondering if he should go in and take Yi Xian's head. He kept hesitating until Yi Xian entered the purple mist. But when Yi Xian stepped in, the effect of the Devil Ape transformation suddenly disappeared, causing his speed to decrease greatly. Good chance, 3 days muscle-shattering palm. The old man quickly followed and slapped out with his palm, hitting Yi Xian's back. The 3 days muscle-shattering palm was a mid-grade heaven-level martial art. Although he didn't master it well, it was enough to kill a person. Yi Xian was hit again and flew out. You were hit by my 3 days muscle-shattering palm. In these 3 days, your meridians will continue to crack and it will be extremely difficult to repair until you die.
The old man's eyes shone with a murderous light.
He continued to chase and take Yi Xian's interspatial ring. He wasn't coveting the things in Yi Xian's interspatial ring. He was preparing to return it to the Gui Yuan sect. As an expert with 120 dragon power, he didn't want to do such a thing. Moreover, he didn't want to do it. But at this moment, hiss! Suddenly, a loud hissing sound was heard. The sound was so sharp that it hurt the old man's ears. He couldn't help but stop in his tracks. When he recognized the shrill cry, his expression changed abruptly. A flying centipede comparable to a level 2 chi controlling realm?
The old man opened his eyes wide and hurriedly retreated.
He didn't dare to enter the purple mist. Although he had 120 dragon power, he was still in the strength realm. As for the spirit realm, every time he broke through, he would obtain 100 dragon power. Second level of the royal air tier was equivalent to 200 dragons. No, it should be at least 200 dragons, because 200 to 299 dragons were all considered to be at the second level of the royal air tier. The old man was only 120 dragons, so how could he dare to stay here? When he heard the screams, he was almost scared out of his wits. Naturally, he did not dare to pursue Yi Xian and immediately fled. At this moment, Yi Xian had also entered the mist. Phew, luckily he didn't chase after me. Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief. However, he was also heavily injured. To be able to scare off an expert with 120 dragons with just a roar, it must be a super saint beast. I can't stay here any longer. Retreat. Yi Xian thought to himself and immediately left the fog. He had the Beast King bloodline in his body. Before he came in, he felt several auras that made his heart palpitate. Fortunately, these powerful saint beasts were not interested in him. Otherwise, he would be finished. This time, he was still scared but not in danger. This gave Yi Xian a sense of joy as he was reborn from the jaws of death.
However, the old man's 3 days breaking tendons hand made him suffer for the next 3 days.
I will definitely take revenge for this. Just you wait. Heaven Grudge Sword Sect, right? I will remember this. Yi Xian roared in his heart. He had just heard the words Heaven Grudge Sword Sect. It was obvious that the old man was from the Heaven Grudge Sword Sect. After he came out of the netherworld abyss, he quickly summoned Wei Zhentian and flew into the sky. This was because he was in so much pain that he could not walk. Damn it, this move is really vicious. It actually kept tearing my meridians. If I didn't have the sacred tree of life's bloodline, I'm afraid I would have died. Yi Xian cursed in the air. The old man would never have thought that Yi Xian could survive the attack of the medium heaven level 3 days breaking tendons hand. After the old man left, he returned to the Gui Yuan sect. Elder Yen, where is he?
When the young man saw the old man return, he immediately asked.
Elder Yen shook his head and said, he escaped into the netherworld abyss and coincidentally encountered a flying centipede, so I did not chase after him. But don't worry, he was hit by my 3 days breaking tendons hand. In addition to the side effects of that martial art, he will definitely die.
Hearing this, the young man heaved a sigh of relief.
It seemed that the Gui Yuan sect was fine. Yes, be careful this time. The Gui Yuan sect leader was also relieved. Elder Yen was an expert with 120 dragon strength, so Yi Xian was definitely going to die. Your father's arm is fine. All right, it's getting late. Let's go.
Elder Yen said to the young man.
Okay.
The young man replied, then turned to the Gui Yuan sect leader and said, Father, I will take my leave first.
This time, Yi Xian rested for 3 whole days. Although he had broken through to 70 dragon strength, he had wasted a chance to use Beast King's rampage, which was not worth it. After being hit by the 3 days breaking tendons hand, Yi Xian roared for 3 whole days. The heart-wrenching pain was torturous to him. He had to take revenge. 3 days later, in a barren mountain in the north of the Gui Yuan sect. Damn it, it hurt for 3 days. Wait until I break through, I will kill my way to your Heaven's Grudge Sword sect. In a cave, Yi Xian's angry voice could be heard. Then he walked out. What he wanted to do the most now was to break through. Break through, break through. Only when he was stronger could he take revenge. He did not dare to go to the Gui Yuan sect again. He did not know if the old man was still there. Therefore, this time, he wanted to go to a place to train, to break through and increase his strength. At the same time, he would hunt some saint beast corpses. If he wanted to use Beast King's rampage again, he would need a large number of saint beast corpses with 80 dragon strength and above. This time, his destination was a place called the Een Ruins. There were many saint beasts in the Een Ruins, such as Een Wind Mantises, Een Wind Spiders, Een Wind Centipedes, etc. They were all saint beasts that liked the dark. These saint beasts were very difficult for ordinary people to deal with. After all, these creatures were poisonous. However, this was a piece of cake for Yi Xian. Immediately, he moved towards the Een Ruins. Now, he had broken through to 70 dragon strength. Wei Zhentian had also eaten close to 70 dragon strength. Moreover, it seemed that he was going to break through faster than Yi Xian. With its help, Yi Xian's hunting speed would increase by a lot. In less than half a day, he arrived above the Een Ruins. Little Tian, go down. Yi Xian ordered. Wei Zhentian quickly descended and put Yi Xian down. The Een Ruins was a strange place. Even if it was daytime in other places, it was endless night here. There was not a trace of sunlight. It was said that this place was a prosperous city thousands of years ago. There were hundreds of them. However, it was later abandoned and turned into a nest of dark creatures. Little Tian, help me scout up there. Yi Xian ordered again. Chapter 394. Een Ruins. After hearing Yi Xian's words, Wei Zhentian nodded and turned into a small bird that flew into the sky. He knew that Yi Xian needed a large number of saint beast corpses, so he wanted to find out where the beast hordes were. As for Yi Xian, He also looked around. At this time, he landed in a deserted city. The surroundings were dark, but Yi Xian could see clearly with the help of his bloodline. Wind mantis ha! Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. His figure flashed as he charged towards his first target.
This wind mantis that he had his eyes on, under the influence of the ruins, had grown to the strength of 75 dragons.
Although it was 5 dragons stronger than Yi Xian, it couldn't escape the fate of being instantly killed. Rip! With a crisp sound, the head of the wind mantis was thrown into the air. Then, its corpse was absorbed into Yi Xian's devour space. Yi Xian kept the corpse and devoured the Saint Beast's soul. The next Beast King rampage will require a large number of Saint Beast corpses with 80 dragons of strength. There are only 70 Saint Beasts in the ruins, so I'm afraid it will take some time to collect them. Yi Xian thought in his heart and left the place.
He estimated that if he used 70 Saint Beast corpses to make up for it, the unit would be at least 1,000, or even 10,000.
Anyway, it would be a long slaughter. Yi Xian was very fast. Even if he did not use martial arts, his speed was comparable to an expert with 85 dragons. With such speed, these Saint Beasts could not catch up to him. They were all killed instantly. Yi Xian ran quickly, killing Saint Beasts along the way, devouring their souls and collecting the heaven and earth treasures in the ruins. In 5 minutes, he killed hundreds of Saint Beasts and his cultivation base increased. He estimated that it would only take a few hours to collect the required number of Beast King rampage corpses. At this time, Wei Zhentian returned. How was it? Did you find anything? Yi Xian turned to look at Wei Zhentian, who had turned into a small bird.
GG. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow.
You're saying that you found 1,000 wind spiders?
GG.
Wei Zhentian nodded. All right, take me there. Wei Zhentian immediately turned into a big bird and flew away with Yi Xian. Over 1,000 Saint Beasts was a huge number. Yi Xian thought that if he were to devour all of these Saint Beast souls, he should be able to break through to 71 dragons. Not long after, Wei Zhentian brought Yi Xian to a canyon. The walls on both sides of the canyon were filled with potholes and countless caves. It was obvious that this was the nest of the wind spiders. Hiss! Suddenly, a gust of wind entered Yi Xian's ears. He turned his head and saw bundles of white spider silk flying towards him.
He had been discovered.
Yi Xian swung his sword and cut off the spider web, then jumped down. At the same time, Wei Zhentian turned into an aerial fortress like a transformer.
Bang! 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 Bang!
Wei Zhentian began to shoot at high speed. Although its realm was not as high as the wind spiders, it had the advantage of being able to fly. Moreover, it had many attacking methods. While it was shooting, it would also shoot out tracking bullets to attack the nearest wind spiders. If an ordinary person had formed a contract with Wei Zhentian, they would not be in such a state. However, Yi Xian was not an ordinary person. He came from Earth. Plop! After Yi Xian landed on the ground, he shattered the Bahuang sword. He was not stupid enough to kill the wind spiders alone. Naturally, he would use the powerful Bahuang wind formation. As for himself, he took out a high-quality heaven artifact and displayed the underworld sword technique.
Bahuang wind formation.
Underworld sword technique. Sword descends to the underworld. This nest of wind spiders seemed to have at least 2,000 wind spiders. After hearing the loud noise, these wind spiders all crawled out of their nests. If one was surrounded by so many wind spiders, even an expert with more than 80 dragons would have to shudder. However, Yi Xian killed them as if he was cutting tofu. His speed was so fast that it made one's heart palpitate. In less than 5 minutes, all of the wind spiders with strength between 70 and 80 dragons were killed by Yi Xian. Then he kept them in the devouring space. The entire canyon became very desolate. Ding! The host has broken through to 71 dragons' power. The long-awaited system notification finally sounded. Good. Wei Zhentian, continue to search. Yi Xian ordered. These 2,000 wind spiders were devoured by him. The sacred beast spirit was left behind. Although the number was large, the realm of the corpses was not enough. They were still far from the Beast King's berserk state. However, what Yi Xian did not know was that while he was hunting the ruins, many teams had entered the ruins from various directions. Their target was the center of the ruins. At this time, It had been half a day since they entered the Yin ruins. In this half a day, he had killed thousands of sacred beasts of different realms. This allowed him to break through to 72 dragons. Of course, Wei Zhentian's aerial reconnaissance was indispensable. Now, Wei Zhentian was back. How big of a group did you find? Yi Xian looked at Wei Zhentian, who had turned into a cute little bird, and asked. Chirp chirp. Wei Zhentian shook his head. What? You said that you encountered a team of 30 people. They seem to be from a large faction. Each of them has a strength of around 80 dragons? Yi Xian understood Wei Zhentian's meaning. The Yin ruins was a suitable place for training. Although there were not many opportunities, there were many sacred beasts here. It was a good place to earn money. While Yi Xian was hunting, he had seen many lone wolves. However, it was strange for such a powerful team to appear. After all, an expert with 80 dragons was enough to run amok in the Yin ruins. 80 dragons. Were they going to flatten the Yin ruins? There's something fishy. Yi Xian was interested and said, Take me to have a look. Don't be discovered by them. Wei Zhentian understood and turned into a big bird that could carry one person and flew high up in the sky. It was dark 24 hours in the Yin ruins. Even an expert with 100 dragons would not be able to discover Yi Xian. Wei Zhentian carried Yi Xian and flew towards the team. Soon, Yi Xian saw the team. When Yi Xian saw a young man among the 3 leaders, his eyes lit up. Wasn't this young man the young sect leader of the Gui Yuan sect? I've searched high and low for you, only to find you by chance. I didn't look for you, but you delivered yourself to me. Yi Xian squinted his eyes. That's right, this team was the disciples of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. Yi Xian scanned the team but did not find the old man who had injured him before. He's not here. His heart sank. Chapter 395. Interest. Although Yi Xian really wanted to go down immediately and cause trouble for these people, he was afraid that the old man would be nearby. If they met, he would definitely enter the gates of hell this time. After all, the Beast King's Berserk couldn't be used yet. Moreover, he wanted to see what the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect was doing. At this time, the elite team of the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect did not notice Yi Xian in the air. Yu Kong, the young lord of the Gui Yuan sect, who was walking in front of the team, asked, Senior brothers, how much longer do we need to travel? Hearing this, a tall young man replied, Soon, we will be there soon. I think it will take another 10 minutes. 10 minutes? Yu Kong nodded slightly. The tall young man asked again, What's wrong, junior brother you? Yu Kong shook his head. Nothing, I just have a bad premonition. Haha, don't worry, our purpose is to clean up that desolate city and find the hidden entrance. The tall young man laughed. That's right, we are not qualified to enter the ruins of the previous overlord. Our mission is to kill the surrounding saint beasts and find the entrance. The third handsome young man leading the team said. But, Elder Yen has been gone for half an hour. Yu Kong frowned. The tall young man continued. Don't be afraid, Elder Yen is an expert of 120 dragons, stronger than the overlord before he broke through. He just went to the other forces first. Yes, the secret of this ruins was discovered by the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect, and then we told the other forces. If these people dare to burn the bridge after crossing the river, the sect leader will definitely destroy them. The handsome young man agreed. I hope I am overthinking. Yu Kong nodded slightly and did not say anything. This time, he was looking for the ruins of the 6th Redwood Overlord. The Heaven Hatred Sword Sect was the first to discover this news, but they did not have the strength to explore alone, so they invited other forces. Their team was the vanguard of the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect, responsible for finding the entrance, cleaning it up, and then letting the experts of the sect explore. Soon they found their target. At this time, they had already arrived at the largest abandoned city in the Yin ruins. We are here, Elder Hu said that the entrance is in this city, but he does not know the specific location. Therefore, we must tear down this city and find the entrance that is hidden by the formation, said the tall young man. The other forces will probably take a while before they arrive. Let's make a move first. Junior Marshal Brother Yu, your team will enter the city and clear out the saint beasts. We'll stay here and tear down the city. The handsome young man turned around and said. Yu Kong nodded. Okay. Cleaning up saint beasts was a lucrative job. After all, martial artists also needed a large number of saint beast souls to cultivate. Then, Yukong left with a group of people.
As for the remaining 20 or so people, they began to tear down the city wall.
This scene entered Yi Xian's eyes, causing the corners of his mouth to slightly curl up.
He really delivered himself to my doorstep, hee. He took out an Ultraman Tiga mask from the devouring space. After changing his outfit, he asked Wei Zhentian to bring him into the city.
Just now, he had been observing for a while.
That old man probably had something to do, so he wasn't with them.
This was a great opportunity for him. For the time being, he couldn't take revenge for the 3 days of pain, but he could collect some interest.
Yi Xian hid in the surrounding houses and waited quietly. In less than 10 seconds, several silhouettes entered his 1,000-meter sensing range.
It was Yukong's team of 10. Senior Martial Brother Yu, what should we do now?
A disciple of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect asked. When Yukong heard that, he said, "The 9 of you will split into groups of 3 and hunt the saint beasts.
Don't wander too far."
Okay. The 9 of them nodded and split into 3 groups.
As for Yukong, he was alone.
He had 80 dragon power and had learned a middle-grade heaven-level martial art.
His strength was second only to the 2 people from before.
However, even his father, the sect leader of the Gui Yuan sect, who had 85 dragon power, was defeated by Yi Xian.
He, who only had 80 dragon power, was naturally no match for Yi Xian.
To be on the safe side, Yi Xian's first target was not him, but the other 9 people.
Why?
Because Yi Xian's demonic ape transformation could only be used once. However, the Gui Yuan sect had a martial art that could increase one's strength. The sect leader of the Gui Yuan sect had used it before, and his strength had increased from 85 dragon power to 88 dragon power.
Yi Xian was worried that Yukong had it too.
So, in order not to waste the demonic ape transformation, he dealt with the other 9 people first. After all, they were disciples of a large sect. Their talents were superior, and their strength was naturally incomparable to ordinary people.
Little Tian, keep an eye on him. Yi Xian instructed and then disappeared into the shadows.
The 9 elite disciples of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect were silently beheaded by Yi Xian. There was no sound at all. These 9 disciples of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect had 78 or 79 dragon power. Moreover, they seemed to be of high status, so there were many good things in their interspatial rings.
Ding! The host has broken through to 73 dragon power. With the help of these things, Yi Xian also successfully broke through.
Although these 9 disciples of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect did not offend Yi Xian, who asked them to join the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect. This was their fate.
All right, it's time to find trouble with Yukong. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes.
Although Wei Zhentian had not returned, he could sense the direction of Wei Zhentian.
Immediately, he chased after him.
At this moment, Yukong was completely unaware that danger was approaching. Humph! How dare you be arrogant in front of me with merely 80 dragon power?
Yukong snorted coldly. He was fighting with a chilling wind mantis.
This chilling wind mantis had 80 dragon power, which made its armor extremely tough. However, it was useless in front of the elite disciple of the Heaven's Hatred Sword sect, Yukong.
Kacha! 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 A series of crisp sounds rang out.
Yukong was using a middle-grade heaven-class martial art. Although he was not very good at it and only had 40% mastery, its power was much stronger than a lower-grade heaven-class martial art. Under the attack of the middle-grade heaven-class martial art, the chilling wind mantis was beaten to a pulp and soon died under Yukong's sword.
Tesveske,
a saint beast soul with 80 dragon power can improve my cultivation by a lot.
Yukong sneered and kept the corpse. However, at this moment, a strange change occurred. Whoosh whoosh.
The sound of a gust of wind suddenly appeared, and before Yukong could react, a figure swept to his side.
Rip.
Immediately after, Yukong felt his legs turn cold and his entire upper body involuntarily fell to the ground.
Both of his legs had been chopped off.
What?
Chapter 396. Total annihilation. Yukong's upper body fell to the ground.
He turned his head in horror and saw a figure standing in front of him. It was a man in black wearing a strange mask.
Who is it? Yukong couldn't figure out who wanted to kill him.
Young sect master, how have you been?
Yi Xian said coldly. Hearing this voice, Yukong immediately reacted. Didn't this voice belong to the thief who cut off his father's arm that day?
You're not dead?
How is that possible? Yukong couldn't believe it.
He had heard with his own ears that Elder Yen, one of the 120 dragons, said that Xian had been hit by the 3 days muscle-breaking hand.
Now, 3 days had passed. How could Xian still be standing in front of him, alive and kicking?
Moreover, his strength had become even stronger?
Do you think that I will die after being hit by the 3 days muscle-breaking hand? Xian sneered and slashed twice, cutting off both of Yukang's arms. Yukong was reduced to a cripple. He couldn't escape or attack.
Hiss! Yukong sucked in a few breaths of cold air.
The pain of his 4 limbs being broken almost made him faint. This was the first time he had been beaten to such a state.
He couldn't help but reveal a look of despair.
Let's cut to the chase. What's the name of the person who tried to kill me that day? Where is he now? Xian asked coldly. Yukong clenched his teeth and growled, "Kill me if you want. Do you think I will tell you?"
That's where you're wrong.
I'm looking for him to take revenge. If you tell me where he is, I will naturally find him and send myself to death. At that time, I might even be able to accompany you to hell. Xian suddenly cracked a joke. Yukong was stunned. He couldn't figure out Xian's intention. However, he would definitely not tell Xian about Elder Yan's whereabouts. Looks like you're a tough nut to crack. Don't worry, he will be buried with you. Xian was too lazy to interrogate him. He swept his sword and cut off Yukang's head. After he died, his corpse was also put away by Xian. Let me see how many good things you, the young sect leader of the Gui Yuan sect, have. Xian took his Chen Kuan ring and poured its contents into the devouring space. He probed around and found quite a few precious items. Among them, the most useful item for Xian was undoubtedly the 300-year-old dragon's bloodgrass. He estimated that this dragon bloodgrass would allow him to break through to the strength of 2 dragons. Immediately, he swallowed the dragon bloodgrass. Ding! Host has broken through to 75 dragon power.
Then, he devoured those heavenly treasures.
Ding! Host has broken through to 77 dragons power. The harvest this time also exceeded Xian's expectations.
Gaining 4 dragons of strength in one go was already very good.
All right, little Tian, these are all for you. Xian poured out all the heaven artifacts and ores from his interspatial ring. Then, he moved on to other things. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. He had obtained quite a few low-tier heaven-level martial arts. Naturally, he wanted to fuse them. When he was robbing the Gui Yuan sect, he forgot about this. There were hundreds of different sword techniques. Some were good and some were bad. Xian had the middle-tier heaven-level underworld sword technique. Naturally, he would not learn these. What he wanted was the middle-tier heaven-level martial arts. After dozens of notifications, Xian finally revealed a smile. These 100 martial arts had finally been successfully fused together once. The Heaven's Hatred Sword Sect was one of the big sects in the Redwood territory. Naturally, they would have middle-tier heaven-level martial arts. Yukong and the others had a few. Therefore, Xian took the 6 middle-tier heaven-level martial arts, including the underworld sword technique, and fused them again. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. Ding! Martial arts fusion failed. The 3 notifications made Xian's face fall. It was not that easy to fuse martial arts. This martial arts fusion is really a trap. Forget it. Even if I get an upper-tier heaven-level martial art, I probably won't be able to use it. Xian shook his head and chose to give up. This was because he could only train the underworld sword technique to 60%. Even if he had an upper-tier heaven-level martial art, he would only be able to train it to 30%. Of course, he regretted that he did not find the Gui Yuan sect's martial art in Yukang's interspatial ring. However, it did not matter. After all, one's own martial art was still the most important. Immediately, he rode Wei Zhentian and left, heading towards the city's gate. The Heaven's Hatred Sword Sect and the other 2 teams were all Xian's targets. For safety's sake, he still circled around in the air a few times before landing on the ground. Although his martial art was lower than the weakest person, his strength was far superior to the others. In addition to his outstanding concealment skills, he easily defeated 10 people. What's going on? Where did the junior brothers go?
The tall young man looked around in surprise and found that there were fewer and fewer people.
Moreover, he had clearly instructed them not to go too far.
However, he did not expect that these people had been killed.
He continued to work. The group of disciples that came were all elites. They all had the strength to run amok in the dark ruins. Therefore, he was not worried.
However, he could not help but frown in the next moment. This was because he saw that the handsome young man with 80 dragons of power had also disappeared.
At this moment, only 3 people appeared in front of him. Senior brother Wu. Where are senior brother Chen and the others? A disciple also asked in surprise. Now, everyone present reacted. Their mission was to demolish the entire city. Naturally, they had to use violent means to do so. However, after they stopped, they did not hear any sound. It was obvious that only the 4 of them were present.
Oh no, they're dead.
The tall young man immediately reacted. However, at this moment, whoosh! Under the night sky, a cold light flashed. Before the tall young man could react, his head was separated from his body. The remaining 3 disciples' eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. The strongest person in the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sex Elite team was killed in an instant. They could not even see how the tall young man died.
Run!
The 3 of them reacted.
However, by the time they turned around, 8 cold rays of light had already shot out and taken their heads.
Now, the team from the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect was completely wiped out. Xianxia had also broken through to 79 dragons of power because of this. Not only that, but he had also collected enough sacred beast corpses. The icon of Beast King Rampage had lit up, which meant that he could use this trump card. If I use Beast King Rampage now, I can reach 100 dragons of power. Coupled with the movement bonus from 2 agility advancements, I should be able to fight that old man. Chapter 397. Silver Plume Palace. However, Xianxia still wanted to use the Beast King Rampage to collect more Saint Beast corpses. Not only could he level up, but he might also be able to collect 2 Saint Beast corpses from the Beast King Rampage. However, the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sex Elite team must have a motive for coming to the Een ruins, so he had to postpone this plan. Chop chop. At this moment, Wei Zhentian, who was scouting in the air, suddenly landed and called out softly. Someone else is here? Xianxia squinted his eyes and let Wei Zhentian carry him up to 1,000 meters in the air. Using the darkness, he hid. Then, he squinted his eyes and saw another team of dozens of people. I don't know which faction they are from, but the leader should be very strong. Xianxia frowned. This team had exactly 30 people, but they were all older, probably around 40 years old. All of them were wearing silver clothes, which was very eye-catching in the night. Therefore, Xianxia estimated that these people's strength exceeded 90 dragons, or even 100 dragons. This team was actually from the Silver Plume Palace, which was on good terms with the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. This team came from the same direction as the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect, so they saw the demolished city wall.
They're already demolishing it?
It can't be, there's no movement at all. Could it be that they just happened to find the entrance? Impossible, the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect only sent a team of disciples to find the exit. They're still gathering people, and it will take half a day for them to arrive. The Silver Plume Palace people began to discuss. The middle-aged leader had a cold expression. He walked into the city wall and felt a very strange atmosphere. He quickly circled around and found that something was amiss. The smell of blood. There was a battle here, and some humans died here. The middle-aged man frowned. What? When the others heard this, they were also shocked. Great Elder, could it be the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sex? Someone blurted out. There's a smell of blood here. Something must have happened. You guys look around and see if you can find anything. The middle-aged man said. Then, the group of people dispersed and began to search for clues. They were all experts with strength of over 90 dragons, and there were even a few with strength of 100 dragons. The leader of the group was a super expert with strength of 115 dragons. Being in the Een ruins was equivalent to them returning home. Although these people had separated, Xianxia did not dare to move because he could see that these people were all first-class experts. These 30 people all had over 90 dragon powers, and there were even a few who had over 100 dragon powers. As for the middle-aged man in the lead, he was a super expert with 115 dragons. There must be something here. There are so many experts here. Could it be that this is the cave of some expert? Yi Xian guessed as he hovered in the air. The more he thought about it, the more suspicious he became. In any case, there was definitely something good here. Otherwise, why would these great forces send so many experts? Humph. I'll watch from here. Yi Xian waited quietly above. The group of people below searched around but did not find anything. They only found a trace of blood. They guessed that the elites of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect had been killed. However, they did not understand who did it. In the Redwood territory, there were not many people who dared to provoke the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. Moreover, they had cleaned up a group of elites. This was equivalent to forming a deadly feud with the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. Forget it. We didn't kill them anyway. Since we're here first, we'll help them finish it. The three of you will form a group and begin. The middle-aged man did not care too much and instructed. This city was very big. However, for people of their level, they could flatten this place in less than half a day. Time passed bit by bit. After the Silver Feather Palace, another great force came. This force was called the Sun Moon Sect. The leader of this force was an expert with 120 dragons. Then the Wild Dragon Sect came. Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect, Silver Feather Palace, Sun Moon Sect, and Wild Dragon Sect. These four forces were the four great sects of the Redwood territory. They were second only to the Redwood City's City Lord Mansion. At the same time, Elder Yen also came with the Wild Dragon Sect. When he heard that more than 30 elite disciples of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect had been killed, he almost fainted from anger. More than 30 elites. These people were the elites that the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect had nurtured as spirit realm seeds. Their deaths meant that all their previous efforts had been wasted. When Elder Yen heard the news, he could not help but roar towards the sky. He was determined to find the murderer. His roar almost frightened Yi Xian, who was sitting on Wei Zhentian's back, to the point that he fell off. It seemed that he had done a good job of drawing hatred. While the other forces were tearing down the city, he was running around the world. When the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect arrived, he had already taken more than 10 lives. All of them were substitutes for Yi Xian. This time, even the sect master of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect was sent out. When he heard the news, he was furious. However, at this time the entrance of the cave was found. It was in an ordinary courtyard. This made the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect hesitate. Should they go out to find the murderer or go down with the other three forces? However, it had been quite some time since the death of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect's elite team. The murderer might have already left the Yin ruins. Therefore they could only go down first. The four forces brought a large number of people down. Above, each force left 3 people to guard the entrance. Each force had 3 people with 90 dragons of strength, so there were a total of 12 people. Leaving 12 people to guard. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. He was very interested in the underground. A place that could attract the interest of a group of experts with 100 dragons of strength would naturally have great opportunities. However, even this group of experts had to find the entrance. Therefore, drilling into the ground was definitely not going to work. Moreover, if he wanted to go down, he had to get rid of these 12 people first. 12 experts with 90 dragons of strength. It is indeed a little troublesome. Yi Xian estimated in his heart. If he did not count his movement techniques, his 79 dragons of strength could already be compared to an expert with 95 dragons of strength. However, the other party's movement techniques might have been practiced to full mastery. Moreover, they were all experts. Facing 12 people, his 79 dragons of strength was not enough. However, the Beast King's Rage was his trump card. If he used it now, there was no need to go in. Therefore, the only thing that could be used now was the Demonic Ape Transformation. The Demonic Ape Transformation can increase my strength by 5 dragons with 70 dragons of strength. I wonder how much my 79 dragons of strength can increase my strength? Yi Xian thought helplessly. After thinking for a while, he quietly let Wei Zhentian land. Chapter 398. Celestial Stone Abode. Humph, I'll give it my all this once. If it doesn't work, then forget it. At most, I'll find a dangerous place to level up and take the opportunity to rob the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. Yi Xian made up his mind. The 12 experts were also divided into 4 directions to guard the cave entrance, with 3 people in each direction. Yi Xian stealthily snuck over. The direction he chose was the direction of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. He was using the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect as a breakthrough point.
Rather than saying that he was fighting 1 against 12, he was actually fighting 3 first.
If everything went smoothly, then he might be able to increase his cultivation level. At that time, it would be easier for him to deal with 9 people. He held his breath, thought about it, and decided not to do so for now. Why am I so stupid? You can exchange for puppets in the devouring system. Even if it's a true profound realm puppet, you can still make some movements. It'll be much easier to split the 3 of them again. Yi Xian immediately took out a few puppets and sent them far away. When the time was right, he would make some noise. It's about time. Yi Xian calculated the time. Rumble. These puppets had been timed. Once the time was up, they began to attack each other. The sound of metal clashing rang out. The 12 people guarding the cave raised their heads in unison. It should be a saint beast. I'll deal with it. A member of the heaven-hating sword sect got up and ran into the distance. Soon, he disappeared into the darkness. However, not long after he left, another huge commotion came from another direction. How annoying. Can't you guys stop for a moment? I'm going to kill all the saint beasts in the surroundings. The second person also stood up and left. The second commotion was actually caused by Wei Zhentian. As a result, the 3 from the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect were separated once again. Good chance. In the darkness, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He was hiding near Wei Zhentian. His target was the elder of the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect who was running towards him. The elder of the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect ran to the place where Wei Zhentian had bombarded just now empty-handed. Then, Wei Zhentian cooperated and transformed into a wind mantis. A chilling wind mantis that I have never seen before? The elder of the heaven-hating sword sect was a little surprised. He raised his hand and punched out. Bang! The fist shadow penetrated Wei Zhentian's body, but in the next moment, Wei Zhentian's body returned to normal. This kind of attack had no effect on him at all.
If he wanted to kill Wei Zhentian, he would have to use a martial art that was more powerful and had a larger area of effect.
He would have to completely disperse Wei Zhentian's body.
This elder of the heaven-hatred sword sect was not a fool.
He immediately understood. However, at this moment, the sound of wind suddenly appeared. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld. Dang! Yi Xian suddenly charged out from the shadows. What? The elder of the heavenly hatred sword sect was shocked. With his realm, how could he not notice that someone was hiding in the surroundings? He narrowed his eyes and realized that Yi Xian only had 80 dragon power. However, he snorted coldly. You overestimate yourself. Dang! The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with disdain as he punched out. However, he died because of his own carelessness. The 8 desolate sword was enough to make up for the difference of 10 dragon power. Yi Xian's slash was much more powerful than the elder's.
It instantly dispersed the fist shadow and entered the elder's throat.
A head flew up. The middle-aged man's eyes widened and he could no longer speak. Instant kill. Idiot! Yi Xian snorted coldly in his heart. He quickly put away the middle-aged man's interspatial ring and corpse. Ding! The host has broken through to 80 dragon power. Although it was said that one would not bring everything with them when traveling, the items in the middle-aged man's interspatial ring were enough for Yi Xian to break through. Previously, Yi Xian had used the devil ape transformation to break through from 79 dragon power to 80 dragon power. Now, he had truly reached 80 dragon power. Therefore, he temporarily possessed 81 dragon power. I can't stay here any longer. I have to kill the other person.
He quickly rushed out and charged towards the first elder of the heaven-hatred sword sect.
This elder was very careless and was easily killed by Yi Xian. At the same time, the items in his interspatial ring allowed Yi Xian to break through to 81 dragon power. It's so cool to challenge those of a higher level. Every time I kill, I'll level up. If I kill all 12 of them, I should be able to reach 85 dragon power, right? Yi Xian thought for a moment, then disappeared into the darkness again. The last elder of the heaven-hatred sword sect heard some commotion.
He frowned and shouted, "What's going on between the two of you?"
His voice was very loud, but there was no response. His expression changed. It seemed that something had happened. However, just as he was about to speak again,
Yi Xian charged out of the darkness again.
Rip! A crisp sound rang out. Heads flew up.
It was another instant kill. 3 experts from the large sects with 90 dragon strength were all killed by Yi Xian within 5 seconds.
What?
The 9 experts in the other 3 directions were stunned. They immediately drew their weapons, looked at each other, and charged forward. At the same time, Yi Xian's level increased again. He reached 82 dragon power. However, the effect of the demonic ape transformation was minimal because of this. It could not increase his level to 83 dragon power. However, 82 dragon power was enough to kill these 9 people.
Kill!
Yi Xian randomly chose a direction and charged out. The strength of 82 dragons allowed him to possess a speed comparable to 100 dragons. These 9 martial artists with 90 dragon strength couldn't do anything to Yi Xian. Instead, they were defeated one by Yi Xian. A minute later.
Ding!
The proficiency of the Heaven Crippling Body technique has increased. The current proficiency is at 100%. The effect is doubled.
Ding!
The host has broken through to 85 dragon power. After Yi Xian devoured everyone's items, he finally broke through to 85 dragon power. Now he had the strength to go down. Although the essence blood of the demonic ape king was all used up, the demonic ape transformation was useless to him at his current level. His only trump card was the beast king's rage. Alright, let me see exactly where you 4 powers are going. Yi Xian entered the forcefully opened entrance. The tunnel was very dark. It was only enough for 2 people to walk side by side. It had only been 10 minutes since the 4 forces went down, so he walked very slowly. He was afraid of bumping into them. Yi Xian moved forward little by little. There was no sound coming from the tunnel. It seemed that the 4 forces did not encounter any danger. He walked for about half an hour before he saw a ray of green light. He cautiously approached and then took a look. His entire person was stunned. Underneath this city, there was actually an immortal's cave, a gigantic immortal's cave made of celestial blue stone. Damn it! Now there is a cave made of celestial stone. How much is this worth? Chapter 399. Qi Lian Lord. Thinking of the beginning, Yi Xian almost died for a fist-sized celestial bluestone. Now, unexpectedly there is a huge immortal's cave built by celestial bluestone, which is incredible. Yi Xian saw the money and immediately stabbed a sword into the wall, but it was bounced back. Sure enough, there is a powerful defensive formation. The person who built this big immortal's cave is at least a master of the spirit realm. Yi Xian guessed in his heart. He looked around and found that there was only one way to go forward, so he could only continue to go straight. He walked carefully for a while and found a big stone tablet. Later people, I am the Qi Lian Lord. I left a golden armor corpse king in the immortal's cave, and left the control method. If the destined person gets it, please pass on my corpse refining. This is the record on this big stone tablet. Qi Lian Lord. Yi Xian blinked and was confused. However, it can be seen from the name that this person should be a lord in the Luosha region, and he is proficient in refining corpses. Refining corpses, I don't know if the refining is a human corpse or a beast corpse. Yi Xian had some doubts in his heart. If it is a human corpse, then he can't devour it. If it is a beast corpse, then this red immortal's cave is a good upgrade for him. After the stone tablet, there is a door that has been pushed open. Obviously, the 4 forces have entered. Yi Xian silently approached the door, took a look, and discovered 4 forks in the road. 4 roads, 4 forces, should be separated to search for treasures. Yi Xian secretly thought a word. Gotcha! At this moment, suddenly a crisp sound, shocked his chrysanthemum shrank. He turned his head in horror and found that not far away, there were 2 people wearing bronze armor. No, it can't be said to be a person, it can only be said to be a humanoid creature. It has 2 sharp scythes. Wind mantis? Yi Xian stared. The 2 armors had stooped backs, and the 2 sharp scythes in their hands emitted a strange light. Their strength was unknown. This place was completely empty, and there was only 1 stone tablet. So where did these 2 bronze corpses come from? Yi Xian subconsciously raised his head and discovered that there were many beehive-like holes in the ceiling. These 2 bronze corpses had fallen from the ceiling. The next moment, Yi Xian discovered that the footsteps here were messy. There must have been a battle here. He calculated carefully and found that there were at least 150 holes. In other words,
More than 100 bronze corpses should have fallen down. These two at the same time don't have the strength of the wyvern. I wonder what realm they are in. Yi Xian's heart sank as he looked at the two bronze corpses refined from wind mantises. Obviously, the strength of these two copper corpses was definitely stronger than when they were alive. Pa! At this moment, the two bronze corpses suddenly took a step forward and charged towards Yi Xian while brandishing their scythes. So fast. This speed had already exceeded 90 dragon powers. Yi Xian, who was originally on tenterhooks and ready to use Beast King Rampage at any time, relaxed a little when he saw the speed of these two bronze corpses. He could still easily deal with 90 dragon powers. Dragon-slaying Sword of Desolation. Appear. He condensed the dragon-slaying Sword of Desolation and charged forward. Yi Xian only had 85 dragon powers, but under the enhancement of his agility, his speed had exceeded 100 dragon powers. Dealing with these two bronze corpses was a piece of cake. But what was unbelievable was that these two wind mantises were refined into bronze corpses after death. Not only did their strength increase, but their defense also increased by a lot. Fortunately, they were still considered beasts, so the Beast King bloodline had an additional effect. They could not escape the fate of being killed by Yi Xian. Yi Xian put away the corpses. Although these two bronze corpses had their holy beast souls removed, their corpses could still be used by Yi Xian. Good, this is great. This is really a treasure trove. My need for the corpse of Beast King Rampage can be solved. Yi Xian was so happy that his mouth was almost crooked. Now that the two bronze corpses were dealt with, he turned his attention to the ceiling again. At this time, there were still hundreds of intact nests on the ceiling. If these bronze corpses were all taken down, then the corpses would be enough. Whoosh! Yi Xian used Dragon's Judgment and slashed at the ceiling, but it was dispersed by a layer of powerful energy. It seemed that there was also a formation on the ceiling. However, Yi Xian was unwilling to give up. He sat on Might Shakes the Heavens and tried to destroy the formation, but he spent a full 10 minutes without any effect. He gave up. However, his actions caused a huge commotion that was heard by all the forces. Strange, why does it sound like movement at the entrance? You must have heard wrongly. We are going to the left, and the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect is on the right. It must be the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect's battle. Let's go. Have you forgotten the words on the stone tablet? A golden armor corpse king. It's terrible. I didn't expect that in addition to the two silver corpses that were comparable to the First Order of the Royal Qi, the Red Liao Lord actually refined a stronger golden armor corpse king. If we let the Silver Feather Palace get it, then this Redwood territory is my Silver Feather Palace master. The four forces are crazy, and the pace is very fast. Two silver corpses of the First Order of the Royal Qi. They have heard that although there are only 130 dragons, they are very good. The Golden Armor Corpse King is definitely stronger than the Silver Corpse, perhaps reaching the Second Order of the Royal Qi. The most important thing is that the Red Liao Lord also left the method of controlling the Golden Armor Corpse King, which is a huge wealth. You know, the current Redwood Lord is only 190 dragon power, not to the Second Order of the Royal Qi. At this time, at the door of the Red Refining Cave. Oh, sure enough, it can't be destroyed. Let's enter the cave. Yi Xian sighed and shook his head. It was not easy to see a hope and it was aborted. In desperation, he had to step into the Red Refining Cave. This time, he has to be very careful, because even a copper corpse has the power of 90 dragons. Then the Golden Armor Corpse King, how strong is it? His power of 85 dragons. Whether he can find the Golden Armor Corpse King is still a problem. After entering the Red Refining Cave, Yi Xian paused at the crossroads. One left, one right, one left, one right, one left, one right. Yi Xian casually took out a weapon and turned it. The tip of the sword pointed to the left. Just to the left. Yi Xian did not think about it and entered the passage on the left. Four forks, four forces, unless they have a map, otherwise they will not gather together, it must be scattered to explore. This road chosen by Yi Xian is the direction of the Silver Feather Palace. He is very careful to move forward, although there are treasures in front, but there are also dangers. Chapter 400. Alone Chuang Yi Xian estimates that as long as you go to a specific area, these copper corpses will fall. Therefore, he began to run around this passage, and the purpose was to lead these copper corpses down. Gotcha! His guess was correct. After he accidentally stepped into an area, The ceiling suddenly cracked open, and 2 bronze corpses fell down. This time, they were wind spiders. 2 spider copper corpses, each with 8 legs, rushed toward Yi Xian. Yi Xian hated this kind of disgusting thing with many feet, and immediately killed the past. These 2 spider copper corpses, one has the strength of 91 dragons, the other is 92 dragons. However, this is not of any use. In less than 2 seconds, they were cleaned up by Yi Xian one by one. The copper corpses do not have the soul of the holy beast, so for Yi Xian, it is only the corpse of the beast king rage. This cleaning of the copper corpses just makes Yi Xian not accidentally catch up with the big forces in front of him. The appearance of this copper corpse is also strange, falling from the ceiling, rising from the floor, walking out of the wall, where Feng Zhang can come out. Yi Xian was extremely happy to kill. However, about half an hour after he entered the red refining cave, he also successfully collected thousands of corpses ranging from 99 dragons to 95 dragons. Now, he can use the Beast King Rage twice. At the same time, he also encountered a second fork in the road. This time, there are 3 forks in the road. Although I don't know which side is in my direction, these 3 forks should let them divide into 3 roads. Yi Xian thought in his heart. He recalled that this time the 4 forces, each side has about 30 people. If the army is divided into 3 roads, then each road should be no more than 10 people. Unfortunately, the number is still a bit large. Even if Yi Xian uses the Beast King Rage, it is not necessarily able to destroy the 10-person team. After all, this is the top force of the Redwood territory. Maybe there will be a middle-grade heaven tool or a middle-grade heaven-level martial art, which is very difficult to deal with. He carefully moved forward for half an hour. After killing hundreds of corpses, he finally encountered the 3rd fork in the road. This time, there are also 3 forks in the road, which makes Yi Xian's eyes light up. If the 10-person team is divided into 3 roads, then there are 3 people on one side. 3 people, he can deal with it. Do it. I hope there are only 3 people. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. Even if he encountered a strong enemy, he could retreat. At the moment, he took off the mask of the Ultraman Tiga and then put on a Detective Conan mask. Death Primary School student. It's time to show your power. Kill! Yi Xian roared in his heart as he ran in a straight line, not even bothering with the copper corpses on the way. In front of him, there were indeed 3 martial artists. They were all elders of the Silver Plume Palace. Are you kidding? We are only encountering copper corpses now. Next there are iron corpses and silver corpses. With our realm, if we encounter a few iron corpses, we will have to fight to the death. Do you want to find the golden armored corpse king? If we encounter the golden armored corpse king, we are dead. You can't say that. What if we accidentally get the method to control these corpses? The 3 of them were chatting as they moved forward. Rumble. At this time, a rumbling sound suddenly came from behind them. Their tiger bodies shook. They turned around and found a huge stone rolling towards them. What the hell is this? We walked all the way. Why didn't we see such a big stone? It should be another mechanism. This Qilian overlord, in addition to liking to refine corpses, is also proficient in mechanisms, forging, and has a lot of tricks. I'll do it. A Silver Feather Palace elder walked out and suddenly punched the rolling stone that was dozens of meters high in front of him. The wind of the fist was whistling, bombarding the huge rolling stone. Rumble! The huge rolling stone was instantly smashed into pieces. However, when the rolling stone was torn apart, a person suddenly rushed out of the rolling stone. It was Yi Xian. Copper corpse? The 3 Silver Feather Palace elders were stunned. After seeing Yi Xian's strange mask, they suddenly reacted. However, they still felt that something was wrong, because Yi Xian's body was surrounded by flying dragons. 85 dragons. It's a human. The 3 of them opened their eyes. In this red refining immortal's cave, there are other humans. Hey, a mere 85 dragons, dare to come to the trouble of the 3 of us, see me shake you to death. The middle-aged man who smashed the rolling stone of Wei Zhentian took a few steps forward and blasted a punch at Yi Xian. However, this punch was avoided by Yi Xian. He was a little surprised. He was a master of 95 dragons. His attack was actually avoided by Yi Xian, who was 10 dragons. This was a shame. He blasted a few more punches, but they were all dodged by Yi Xian. At this time, he was only 1,000 meters away from Yi Xian. "Boy, I want you to die." The middle-aged man's eyes were bright, and he greeted him. His speed was much faster than Yi Xian. But how did he know that Yi Xian was just luring the enemy? His explosive speed was similar to that of a martial artist of 85 dragons. 800 meters. 600 meters. 300 meters. 100 meters.
Just as the two were about to come into contact, Yi Xian's speed suddenly skyrocketed, and the Bahuang sword in his hand also condensed into a dragon-slaying sword.
Dang!
Yi Xian opened his eyes wide, and the speed that exceeded the strength of 100 dragons burst out in an instant.
Hiss!
A crisp sound spread in this passage and fell into the ears of the other two people.
They saw a blood column soaring into the sky, like a spring, constantly sputtering blood in all directions. And this spring was their companion's throat. Instant kill. A 95 dragons expert was instantly killed. This. The two people looked at each other and watched as Yi Xian put away the universe ring. Then, another flying dragon appeared around him. 86 dragons. At this time, the two people finally reacted. Kill him. In an instant, flying dragons also rose around the two of them. The two of them both possessed 96 dragons' powers. Just now, Yi Xian had used a sneak attack to successfully kill the 95 dragons expert, but now it would not work. Their explosive speed was not slower than Yi Xian's at all. Sure enough, there is a middle-grade heaven-class movement technique. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He did not find a middle-grade heaven-class movement technique in that person's universe ring. It seemed that the other party destroyed it after learning it. "Boy, how dare you kill someone from Inu Palace?" Dang! An old man with white eyebrows roared, and launched a storm-like attack at Yi Xian. Chapter 401. Chapter 401, New Weoarke Silver Feather Body Technique, Overestimating Yourself. Yi Xian shouted in his heart and greeted him.
Although the other party has a mid-grade heaven-level body technique martial art, but because of the realm, they are not very proficient, only a little better than the heaven destruction body technique. And their own speed, but it is a lot worse than Yi Xian, so this battle in less than 10 seconds is also the winner.
No, it is the life and death.
2 heads flew up and fell to the ground, and 2 blood fountains, staining the ground of the red refining cave. Hoo, the luck is not bad, the first to meet people with more than 90 dragons. If you meet 100 dragons, I am afraid it will not be so easy.
Yi Xian breathed a sigh of relief, and the remaining 2 Qianquan rings were put away. Ding! The host broke through to 87 dragon power. Realm. Again promoted. He threw the ore weapons, and so on to Wei Zhentian. While Wei Zhentian was eating, he also took a break and looked at the other things in the Qianquan ring. Well, at this moment, Yi Xian suddenly discovered something that wasn't right. It was a brocade box with a few heaven-level martial arts inside. However, Yi Xian suddenly found that the brocade box actually has a compartment. In the compartment, there is a martial art called the Silver Feather Body Technique. Mid-grade heaven-level body technique martial art? Yi Xian opened his eyes. Did not expect to have such a harvest. Haha, with this body technique martial art, my combat power can be improved to a higher level. Yi Xian was overjoyed and immediately learned this Silver Feather Body Technique. Ding! The host has learned the Silver Feather Body Technique. The current proficiency is 10%. Yi Xian still remembers that after learning the Underworld Sword Technique, 30% of the fire can be comparable to the 100% fire of the Sky Wind Sword Technique. If this Silver Feather Body Technique is practiced to 60%, he will deal with these 2 people. I am afraid it will be easy. On the side, Wei Zhentian has finished eating. Ever since he gained the ability to transform and reassemble, Wei Zhentian would eat in all sorts of strange ways. This time, he had transformed into a large cauldron and tossed the ores and heaven-tier artifacts into it, saving him both time and effort. Refine it. There will be more in a while. Yi Xian grinned and stood up. Next, he used the copper corpse in the red refining immortal's cave to practice the Silver Feather Body Technique, and it was easy to reach 30% of the fire. Then, he went back the way he came and prepared to go to another fork in the road. Maybe this trip to the red refining immortal's cave, he can break through to the spirit realm? As long as he could reach the spirit realm, he would be able to fly in the air. Needless to say, this feeling was extremely pleasurable. Just now when he came here he was very careful, but this time he ran with all his might. Soon, he entered the second path. Then, they caught up with the second Silver Plume Palace team. This team had the same arrangement as before, one with 95 dragon power and two with 96 dragon power. Xian used the same method to kill all of them. Ding, the host broke through to the power of 88 dragon power. Now, Xian was only 2 dragons away from the power of 90 dragon power. The 6 people who died also gave Xian a lot of holy beast corpses. This kind of thing, Xian cannot be too much. Then he went to the third fork in the road and killed the third team. This time, his strength had increased. One person had reached 98 dragons and 297 dragons. This allowed Xian to successfully break through to the strength of 89 dragons. Even his silver feather movement technique had broken through to 50% mastery. Good luck. It seems that at the second fork in the road, I chose a good place. Xian grinned. This time, he was going back to the second fork in the road. 12 people have died in the Silver Plume Palace, 3 outside and 9 inside. At this time, they still have about 20 people left. With Xian's current strength, even if he faced the leader of the Silver Plume Palace team, he had the ability to kill him. Although he would have to waste a Beast King's rage, it would allow him to break through to the power of 100 dragon power. This was definitely a good deal. At this time, Xian returned to the second fork in the road, then entered the second fork in the road. He hoped that he could meet the leader of the Silver Plume Palace team. He entered the second fork in the road, then randomly chose a road at the third fork. After walking for a while, he saw 3 people.
In the middle of a battle?
Xian's eyes narrowed. Looking from a few thousand meters away, he saw 3 figures moving quickly. In addition, there was a 2-meter-tall iron corpse. He took a closer look and found that all 3 of them had 99 dragon powers. The 2-meter-tall Iron Man looked a little like a Tauren. This should be a barbaric bull demon. It was born with 70 dragon power, and when it reached adulthood, it would reach 90 dragon power. Xian estimated that this barbaric bull demon iron corpse should have more than 100 dragon power. The 2 sides fought to their heart's content. This barbaric bull demon iron corpse was very strong, and its defensive power far surpassed that of the copper corpses. It fought to a draw with the 3 people, and the battle was very intense. Xian hesitated in his heart. With his 89 dragon strength, his speed had already surpassed everyone present. However, he liked to take advantage of others, so he watched quietly. The 3 elders of the Silver Plume Palace team up. Although they fought to a draw with the barbaric bull demon iron corpse, they had the advantage in numbers. If they really wanted to compare, the Silver Plume Palace team had the upper hand, beating the barbaric bull demon iron corpse until it kept retreating. Xian also slowly approached. He was thinking to let the Silver Plume Palace team kill the barbaric bull demon iron corpse first, then ambush them. But who knew that the situation would suddenly take a turn for the better? One of them accidentally stepped on a mechanism, and another iron corpse suddenly fell from the ceiling. This iron corpse was also a barbaric bull demon. This was troublesome. 2 barbaric bull demons working together to deal with the 399 dragon demon experts of the Silver Plume Palace was not a problem. Not good. Retreat. Seeing this, one of them immediately shouted, and then turned to leave. If they did not leave, they would definitely be dead. However, what they did not know was that on their escape route, there was another killing god. Bang! 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 The 2 barbaric bull demons' large feet stepped on the floor, creating loud rumbling sounds. Every loud sound was able to shake the hearts of the 3 people in front. They had suppressed the barbaric bull demon with great difficulty. If they were given a little more time, they would be able to kill it. But who knew that at this crucial moment, another barbaric bull demon would suddenly jump out. This was really terrible. Luckily, their speed was faster than the barbaric bull demon, so escaping this dangerous situation was not a problem. However, when they ran halfway, they found a figure standing in the middle of the passage in front of them, blocking their escape route. Wearing a strange mask. Who is this person? The 3 people had this question in their hearts at the same time. Brat, who are you? Chapter 402. Inner hall. The person who blocked the other party's path was naturally Xian, who was wearing the Grim Reaper's primary school student mask. He looked at the 3 of them charging towards him and took out his Bahuang sword. He cupped his fists and said, "Since you asked so sincerely, I'll be merciful and tell you. My surname is Yi and my name is Liangchen. I, Yi Liangchen, will be the one to take your heads. Yi Liangchen? The three of them looked at each other and realized that they had never heard of this name before. At this moment, Yi Xian made his move. His figure flashed out like a ghost with a long silver belt behind him. It was very beautiful. When the three of them saw it, they were in disbelief. They exclaimed, "Silver feather movement technique?" This shocked them. The silver feather movement technique was the most powerful martial art of the Silver Feather Palace. Only people of their level were qualified to learn it. However, how could Yi Xian know it too? However, this was not the time to be calculative because Yi Xian's speed was much faster than theirs. Split up and go. The three of them widened their eyes and split up under their leader's command. However, they forgot that there were two barbaric bull demons behind them. After they split up, the two barbaric bull demons also split up and chased after one of them. As for the third person, he naturally became Yi Xian's target. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld. Die. Yi Xian released his killing move. His opponent only managed to dodge once. The second time, his head was chopped off by Yi Xian. Ding. The host has broken through to 90 dragon power. A notification rang in Yi Xian's mind when he took the interspatial ring from his opponent. With 90 dragon strength, if he added the bonus to his movement speed, his speed would be comparable to an expert with 110 dragon strength. After killing this person, Yi Xian dashed towards the other two. What? The two of them turned their heads to take a glance. When they saw the corpse and Yi Xian, who was running towards them, they were instantly scared half to death. There was a pursuer in front and a fierce tiger behind. The two barbaric bull demons were one thing, as they could still escape, but Yi Xian was actually able to kill an expert with close to 100 dragon force points. He was definitely more dangerous than the barbaric bull demon Iron Corpse. However, their speed was too slow compared to Yi Xian's. Hiss! Hiss! The two of them were killed one after another. At the same time, they helped Yi Xian break through to the power of 91 dragons. Now it was time for Yi Xian to fight the two barbaric ox devils. Roar! The two barbaric ox demon iron corpses stared at Yi Xian with their bell-like eyes. Although they are dead, the Red Liao Lord uses a special method to keep them conscious, so they are not stupid. They can see that Yi Xian is much stronger than the three of them. Speed. You can't catch up to me, so you can only be my live targets. Yi Xian didn't think too much about it and brought out his Dragon Slayer sword. Underworld sword technique. Sword descends to the underworld. Yi Xian immediately used his strongest attack. With the Beast King bloodline, Yi Xian has a 10% increase in attack damage against beasts. Moreover, after breaking through to the power of 91 dragons, Yi Xian's Bahuang sword has probably reached the level of a middle-grade heaven artifact. Middle-grade heaven artifact, middle-grade heaven level martial arts, Beast King bloodline, all kinds of factors allowed Yi Xian to kill the 200 dragon strength iron corpses like cutting tofu. In less than 5 seconds, they fell one by one. One was beheaded by Yi Xian, and the other was split in half by Yi Xian. 2 corpses with the power of 100 dragons. Not bad. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction. In his plan, the 4 major forces would become his stepping stones to help him break through to the spirit realm. Then, he would subdue the golden armored corpse king in one fell swoop. Of course, this is just a fantasy. The reality is often cruel. After putting away the 2 barbaric ox demon corpses, he rushed out again. He still went to find trouble with the Silver Feather Palace experts. However, at the same time, in the depths of the Red Refining Cave, it was a large hall, but it was empty. Other than the pillars around it, there was nothing else. In the center of the hall, there is a huge golden coffin, and on the side of the golden coffin, there are 2 silver statues of 1 person tall. These 2 silver statues are lifelike. One is holding a crescent blade, the other is holding a 2-meter-long sword, mighty and extraordinary. At this time, the big sword statue suddenly opened its eyes. Someone entered the inner hall. This silver statue actually spoke. Suddenly, another statue also opened its eyes and said, "I hope someone can come in alive. I just hope those people don't die. When the time comes, how can we and Master be resurrected?" After Yi Xian broke through to the 91 dragons, he went to find the trouble with the Silver Feather Palace experts. His luck is really good.
These Silver Feather Palace experts are almost all above 90 dragons and under 100 dragons, so there is no threat to Yi Xian. Yi Xian cleaned up a few teams of Silver Feather Palace experts and successfully broke through to the power of 94 dragons. At this time, he estimated that there were only 5 people left in the Silver Feather Palace. At the same time, he was also deeply surprised, because the 5 people of the Silver Feather Palace who exceeded the power of 100 dragons were all together 500 dragons of strength and 115 dragons of strength expert. This meant that they were moving very quickly. Yi Xian walked into the last passage and chased. What about 115 dragons? Yi Xian, if the Beast King is violent, these people will fall. Yi Xian ran in the last passage. At this time, it has been 1 or 2 hours since he entered the Red Refining Cave. He soon passed through the area of the Copper Corpse and entered the Iron Corpse area. The Copper Corpse of the Red Refining Cave is in the realm of 90 dragons to 100 dragons, and the Iron Corpse is between 100 dragons and 110 dragons. However, with his strength, killing these Iron Corpses is easy. Unknowingly, his Beast King is violent, which has 3 opportunities to use it, which makes his confidence increase. After that, Yi Xian simply swallowed those Iron Corpses and successfully broke through to the power of 95 dragons. After entering the Iron Corpse area, he ran for half an hour. This Red Refining Cave is really big, which makes Yi Xian secretly speechless. So many celestial blue stones, if they are swallowed by him, do not know what realm can be broken through? After half an hour, he finally encountered something different. A stone tablet. Red Refining Inner Hall? Yi Xian frowned, and after this stone tablet, there was another door. However, it was closed. What's the matter, this Silver Feather Palace people? Will they close the door when they enter? Yi Xian walked over with some surprise, only to find that the door was shaking, and a sound fell into his ears. Is there a battle inside? Chapter 403. Chapter 403. Chapter 403 Breakthrough Probability. This time, Yi Xian is even more surprised, because the 5 people in the Silver Feather Palace, 1 is 115 dragons, and 4 people are between 110 dragons. This kind of realm is enough to kill any Iron Corpse. What is it fighting with them? Yi Xian curiously approached and put his ear on the door. Boom! Coincidentally, it seems that a heavy object hit the door, and the huge tremor almost deafened his ears. It's so intense. Shouldn't it be the 2 silver corpses in those people? Yi Xian thought about it. Just now, he caught a person and asked about the news of the Red Refining Immortals Cave, and he also learned about the Silver Corpse. He estimated that the Silver Corpse of the Red Refining Immortals Cave should be between 110 dragons and 120 dragons. However, according to the strength of the 5 people in the Silver Feather Palace, this Silver Corpse should be more than 115 dragons. Is it to go in now, or wait for them to finish? Yi Xian thought about it in his heart, and finally he decided to go in now, because he couldn't wait and wanted to break through to 100 dragons. He bit his teeth, raised his spirit, and then pushed open the door. The door was open to the inside, and Yi Xian pushed it a little, cracked a gap, and then he went in. He squinted his eyes and saw that there were indeed 4 figures fighting with a 3-meter-tall silver corpse with chains. How come there are 4 people? Yi Xian was shocked and looked around. Sure enough, he found a human body in a corner. The most important thing is that the Qiankuan ring is still there. Yi Xian's eyes widened and immediately rushed over. At the same time, the 4 people who were fighting with the Iron Chain Silver Corpse were shocked, and they saw a mysterious person wearing a mask. Where did this person come from? The 4 people fought and distracted their attention on Yi Xian. They saw that Yi Xian swept to the side of the corpse and then took off his Qiankuan ring. Boy, stop! The palace master of the Silver Feather Palace shouted. Yi Xian was too lazy to pay attention to him. He directly swallowed the items in the interspatial ring. Ding! Host has broken through to 97 dragon power. An expert was an expert after all. He had a lot of wealth, and it was enough for Yi Xian to increase his cultivation by 2 dragons. 97 dragons. Yi Xian only needed 3 more dragon strength before he could reach 100 dragon strength. At that time, he should be able to know the conditions to break through to the spirit realm. After breaking through, Yi Xian could not help but smile. He then turned to look at the 4 people who were struggling bitterly. Brat, who are you? The Silver Plume Palace Lord asked with a frown. I am Yi Liangchen, Yi Xian said as he walked slowly. Yi Liangchen?
The four of them looked at each other. They had never heard of this person before. I don't care where you came from. Quickly help us kill this iron chain silver corpse, shouted the Silver Plume Palace Master. He believed that since Yi Xian was able to come here, he must be extremely strong. With one more person, they would have a higher chance of winning. Yi Xian looked at them and realized that the four of them were actually at a disadvantage. The iron chain silver corpse was holding a large chain made of unknown material. Its attacks were fierce, and its defense was extremely strong. It was estimated to have reached 120 dragons' strength. It was no wonder that the four of them were forced to flee. Facing such a strong enemy, they were probably very nervous. Why should I help you? Yi Xian said with narrowed eyes. In his plan, the people of Silver Plume Palace were his stepping stones. Ask him to help? What kind of joke is this? You took something from my Silver Plume Palace. As long as you help, the items in the interspatial ring will belong to you. The Silver Plume Palace Lord offered a price. Hee hee. Yi Xian grinned and said, I have already obtained the items. Why should I agree? Humph, if you don't kill this iron chain silver corpse, don't even think about leaving this place. This door can only be opened from the outside, shouted the Silver Plume Palace Lord. Oh! Yi Xian raised his eyebrows, but he was not worried. This iron chain silver corpse was not much of a threat to him. He calculated in his heart and said, No, I don't plan to cooperate with you. Instead, I want to kill you first. What? The four of them were stunned when they heard that. At this moment, the iron chain silver corpse swung the chain in its hand and hit one of them. In an instant, that person was sent flying. Seeing that, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Someone was here to give him benefits. He shot forward like an arrow. Underworld sword technique. Rip. This person was already half dead, and now he was hit by Yi Xian. How could he not die? Yi Xian obtained another interspatial ring. Ding! The host has broken through to 98 dragon strength. At this moment, he was only 2 dragon strength away from 100 dragon strength. Bastard! The palace master of Inu Palace was furious when he saw that. He rushed toward Yi Xian. At the same time, Yi Xian could not hold it in anymore. I'll let you all see my true strength, Yi Xian's Beast King rage. Yi Xian roared towards the sky, and the 17 flying dragons suddenly increased in number. 128 dragons. What? When the palace master of Inu Palace saw those flying dragons, his heart turned cold. 98 dragons, explosively increasing to 128 dragons. He calculated in his heart. That was an increase of 30% of his strength. Was he still human? Just as he was calculating, Yi Xian had already flashed in front of him and swung his sword. Underworld sword technique. Sword descends to the underworld. A slash with the aura of death cut across the palace master of Inu Palace's neck. Blood splattered. Yi Xian did not care where the palace master's head flew to. What he cared about was the interspatial ring. He scooped up the interspatial ring and took it off. Ding! The host has broken through to 100 dragon strength. The long-awaited notification sound finally rang out. What stunned Yi Xian was that he still could not break through to the spirit realm. However, this was within his expectations. He now understood that 100 dragon strength only met the requirements to break through to the spirit realm. Otherwise, how could there be so many spirit realm experts with more than 100 dragon strength? Ding! The host's current chance of breaking through is 10%. Do you want to try breaking through? Hint: if the breakthrough fails, the host will explode and die. What? When Yi Xian heard the notification sound, he was almost scared to death. Chance of breaking through, 10%? If the breakthrough failed, he would explode and die? Yi Xian carefully sensed it again. Indeed, as his realm increased, the chance of breaking through would increase continuously. Every time he increased 1 dragon's strength, the chance of breaking through would increase by 1%. With 100 dragon strength, the chance of breaking through was 10%. This meant that if it was 190 dragon strength, the chance of breaking through would be 100%. At the same time, there were a few things that could help him break through and increase the chance of breaking through. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's get rid of the irrelevant people first. Yi Xian temporarily put this matter aside and rushed out again. Chapter 404. Entering the Inner Palace.
Not good. The remaining two people's faces darkened. However, their speed was no match for Xian, who had over 130 dragon power, and they were killed in an instant.
Ding.
The host has broken through to 101 dragon power. When the notification sounded, the probability of a breakthrough in Xian's mind increased by 1%, reaching 11%. Now, only Xian and the silver zombie were left in the palace.
Whoosh.
The silver zombie waved its chains and attacked Xian. Humph! How dare you show off in front of me when you're so slow? Xian snorted and dodged it easily, then swept to the front of the silver zombie. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld. He swung his sword and slashed at the silver zombie's arm, but it did not cut off the zombie's arm.
Its defense is really amazing.
Xian's eyes flashed, and he swung his sword again.
Plop.
The silver zombie's huge arm was chopped off and fell to the ground. In the next moment, Xian focused on its neck. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld. After 2 strokes of sword descends to the underworld, the silver zombie's head fell off with a loud bang. Although it was strong, it was as fragile as tofu in the hands of Xian, who was in the Beast King frenzy.
Xian put away the corpse.
In the next moment, there was a loud rumbling sound all around. At this moment, Xian realized that there were doors everywhere. There were exactly 10 of them, 9 small ones, and 1 big one. After the death of the silver chain corpse, all the doors were opened. Could it be that every fork leads to here, and that big door is the way out?
Xian guessed in his heart.
He looked around and did not find anything else.
It seemed that this was the way out.
However, the people from the Silver Plume Palace had almost died in his hands. He wondered how many people from the other 3 forces were left. It seems that the news of these people is also wrong. The chained silver corpse is just a kind of holy beast. It is not the 2 generals of the Red Liao Lord. So, there should be 2 more powerful silver corpse. After pausing for a moment, Xian entered the largest door. The degree of danger that followed would most likely be extremely high, because they might encounter the powers of 3 parties, as well as the golden armored corpse king and the 2 powerful silver corpses. Xian ran madly along this large passage. Previously, he had been very careful, but he discovered that there were no iron corpses along the way. After running for about 10 minutes, he saw another glittering golden door with a stone tablet beside it.
Red Refining Main Hall.
It seemed that they had arrived at their destination. Xian carefully walked over and paused for a moment. He heard some people discussing inside.
Hee, is it being distributed?
Xian grinned and pushed the door open. With his strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to fight against everyone from the 3 great powers alone.
Boom!
The door was pushed open and Xian walked in. The loud noise immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the main hall. The Silver Plume Palace that Xian had destroyed was actually the weakest of the 4 great powers. At this moment, there were already dozens of people in the main hall, which made Xian very surprised.
There are almost no casualties.
Could it be that they didn't split up but directly rushed in as a group?
Xian was shocked.
The leaders of the 3 great powers turned to look at Xian. The Wild Dragon Tower's Tower Master said in shock, "Someone from the Silver Plume Palace?"
Obviously, these words were directed at Xian.
Xian was still wearing the Death God primary school student mask. His attire was extremely strange. After hearing the words of the Wild Dragon Tower, he also shook his head and said, "No, I am not from the Silver Plume Palace." Hearing this, the 3 great powers present were all shocked. If he wasn't from the Silver Plume Palace, then how did he enter?
You killed 12 of them?
The Wild Dragon Tower's Tower Master reacted.
That's right. Xian smiled and nodded.
He looked around and found the 2 silver-armored statues and the golden coffin in the main hall. It seemed that the 2 silver-armored statues were the last 2 silver corpses. The one lying in the coffin was probably the golden armored corpse king. As for the corpse controlling technique, it shouldn't have been discovered yet. However, at this time, Elder Yen from the Heaven Hatred Sword sect frowned. He felt that Xian's voice was somewhat familiar. Xian seemed to have read his mind and said with a smile, "Old man, don't you recognize me? That day outside the Netherworld Abyss, you hit me with a palm." When these words were said, Elder Yan's eyes immediately widened as he exclaimed, "It's you?
How is this possible?"
He recognized Xian and was very surprised.
This was because Yi Xian had been hit by his 3 days muscle-breaking hand. He would definitely die within 3 days. However, Yi Xian was standing here alive. You can't kill me with that trick of yours. Oh right, your Heaven Hatred Sword Sex elite team all died at my hands. Are you here for revenge? Yi Xian said with a smile that was not a smile, although the other party couldn't see his expression. It's you. Before Elder Yen could speak, someone walked out of the team angrily. He was Yu Kang's master in the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect, with 102 dragon power. That's right, it's me. Yi Xian nodded. I'm going to kill you. This person shouted and rushed towards Yi Xian. Yi Xian looked at his flustered and exasperated appearance and helplessly shook his head. He had 101 dragon power, and the other party was only 1 dragon power higher than him. Rip! A series of crisp sounds rang out. Yu Kang's master's body fell to the ground. His head flew not far away, and blood splattered everywhere. His interspatial ring fell into Yi Xian's hands. This scene entered the eyes of the crowd, causing them to be truly stunned. He was killed in an instant? Elder Yen was even more shocked. He said in horror, "How is this possible? You only had 70 dragon power that day." 70 dragon power. That's right. Yi Xian only had 70 dragon power when he broke into the netherworld abyss. In just a few days, he had increased his dragon power by 30 dragon power. How could Elder Yen not be shocked? Not only that, but the others present were also so shocked that they couldn't speak. Elder Yen, is what you said true? The sect leader of the Heaven Hatred Sword Sect asked in a low voice. Yes, sect leader. I used the 3 days muscle-breaking hand to send him into the netherworld abyss. Because of the roar of a flying centipede, I didn't go in. At that time, he only had 70 dragon power. He used a martial art to increase his realm and forcibly increased it to almost 100 dragon power. At the same time, he also had the same speed as me. Elder Yan's eyes suddenly lit up. He said, yes, he should be using that martial art to increase his realm now. That day, Yi Xian used the Devil Ape transformation and Beast King's rampage to increase his dragon power to almost 100 dragon power. With the addition of his speed, he managed to escape. Yi Xian only had 101 dragon power. It was no wonder that Elder Yen mistakenly thought that he had used Beast King's rampage. Chapter 405. Corpse Controlling Secret Record? Yes. Immediately, 3 experts walked out. The disciples of these 3 people had all died under Yi Xian's hands, so they wanted nothing more than to skin Yi Xian and scrape his bones. However, they only had 105 dragon strength, so they couldn't escape Yi Xian's butcher's knife. 3 heads flew up at the same time, then fell to the ground. 3 experts with 105 dragon strength were killed in an instant again. This kid is incredible. Let me do it. Elder Yen couldn't bear to watch any longer. Now that the 3 powers were gathered here, the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect had lost 4 people before they even started fighting. If more people died, it would be too disadvantageous. Seeing Elder Yen make a move, the others were relieved. Elder Yen was the 2nd strongest expert in the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect. 120 dragon strength was already considered top-notch in this place. However, Yi Xian today was no longer the kid with 70 dragon strength who could be bullied by others. He had truly reached the power of 100 dragons. With 101 dragon strength and the addition of agility, his speed had exceeded 120 dragon strength. In addition, the Heavenly Hatred Sword Sect didn't have any mid-grade movement techniques, so Yi Xian's speed was much faster than Elder Yan's. Even if he didn't use Beast King's rampage, he could still fight. At this time, Yi Xian didn't use Beast King's rampage because he suddenly had a bad feeling. These people might be useful to him. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal clashing rang out in the main hall. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. With Elder Yan's strength, he couldn't kill Yi Xian in an instant. Where did this brat come from? This was the same thought in everyone's mind. At the same time they had another question. Why haven't the people of Silver Plume Palace arrived yet? Only when they thought of this question did they remember that Yi Xian had walked out of the main door of Silver Plume Palace. Could it be that Silver Plume Palace had been completely wiped out? All of a sudden, these people had a bad premonition in their hearts. Although the Silver Plume Palace was at the bottom of the 4 great powers, the palace master was still an expert with 115 dragons. Furthermore, He possessed a middle-grade movement technique. Even if one of the three major forces wanted to destroy the Silver Plume Palace, it would not be an easy task. However, until now, not a single person from the Silver Plume Palace had appeared. It was no wonder that they thought of destruction.
Everyone from the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect watched the battle between Xian and the second most powerful expert of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect, Elder Yan. Sect leader, should we? An elder approached the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and whispered. The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect understood what he meant and replied, "You guys stay here and watch. It has been a while and the corpse-controlling mystic record should appear soon. As for that brat, I'll deal with him." Yes. The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect was 123 dragons expert. He was very powerful and had the highest cultivation realm among the four great powers.
Seeing that Elder Yan could not do anything to Xian, he wanted to launch a sneak attack.
Although it was a little disgraceful, he and Elder Yan were the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and the second most powerful expert respectively.
If the news of the two joining forces to deal with one person spread, it would be a disgrace. However, if Xian was not eliminated, Elder Yan would be entangled. When the corpse-controlling mystic record appeared, the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect would have one less powerful expert. Moreover, the elite team of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect had been killed by Xian, including his disciple. How could he not take revenge for this? However, at this moment, rumble! Suddenly, a loud sound reverberated in the main hall. Everyone held their breaths in concentration. Soon after, the atmosphere exploded. Quick! The corpse-controlling mystic record has appeared. Find it quickly! Find it quickly! With the corpse-controlling mystic record, we can control the two silver corpses. We must find it before they do. The three major forces were in an uproar. Xian might not know about the corpse-controlling mystic record, but the three of them had been here for a long time. Otherwise, why would the three major forces wait peacefully in the same place? The Qilian overlord had recorded his voice before he died, saying that the corpse-controlling mystic record was in the main hall and would appear when the time was right. Although the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect was the one who found the remains, and both the Wild Dragon House and the Sun Moon sect were under their control, they did not care at all. But at this time, they didn't care so much.
Whoever found the corpse-controlling secret record first and learned how to control these two powerful silver corpses first would be able to eliminate the other two major powers.
Among them, there were huge benefits involved.
If three of the four major sects were to fall here, then there would only be one major sect left in the Redwood territory in the future.
Who did not want to be big? Therefore, the three major forces were in a frenzy. They ran wildly in the main hall, trying to find the corpse-controlling mystic record. At this moment, everyone in the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect dispersed. The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect hesitated for a moment, but still rushed out. He felt that he should kill Xian first, then go find the corpse-controlling mystic record. However, right after he took 2 steps forward, someone shouted loudly, "Stop it!" Found it, the corpse-controlling mystic record. Found the corpse-controlling mystic record.
A person found a secret book in a secret compartment in the corner, but his voice had just sounded when he was ambushed.
What found it?
Everyone widened their eyes and looked in the direction of the voice.
Their eyes turned red. Kill. In an instant, a chaotic battle broke out in the main hall. The three major forces all participated in the battle, just to get the corpse-controlling mystic record. Now, the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect did not have time to care about Xian. He turned around and rushed to the corpse-controlling mystic record. Meanwhile, Elder Yan, who was fighting with Xian, frowned. He thought to himself, Xian really came at the wrong time. Why did he appear just before the corpse-controlling mystic record was about to appear? From the start of the battle until now, he and Xian had already exchanged more than 100 moves. However, Xian's movement technique was much better than his, so he could not do anything to Xian. However, Xian had the ability to kill him in a second, but he had not used it yet. The corpse-controlling mystic record. Huh? So the three major forces were waiting for this, but why do I feel like something is wrong? Xian thought to himself as he fought. His heart was beating wildly, as if something big was about to happen. Hence, he felt that it was better to not make a move first. If he used Beast King Rampage, the three major forces would probably all die in his hands. However, the bad feeling in his heart made him not want to kill these people for the time being. These people were just cannon fodder in his eyes. Anyway, the corpse-controlling mystic record did not have legs and could not run away on its own. He continued to fight with Elder Yen and observed the situation. Chapter 406. Blood Corpse right at this moment. The corpse-controlling secret record with the forbidden retraction array fell into the hands of an expert. This expert was the sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect, who possessed the strength of 121 dragons. Seeing this, the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and the leader of the Wild Dragon Manor exchanged glances. Previously, when Elder Yen went to discuss with the leader of the Wild Dragon Manor, they had privately reached an agreement to cooperate. Coincidentally, none of the people from the Silver Plume Palace were here. This allowed them to eliminate the Sun-Moon sect first and then divide the two silver corpses. This was the method that would not hurt their relationship. The sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect also felt the murderous gazes of the two. He quickly turned around and ran. When he reached the nearest door, he was shocked to find that the door could not be opened. It's over. The sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect turned pale. Go to hell. The leader of the Wild Dragon Manor and the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect had already arrived and attacked him. I don't want this. Take it. The sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect reacted quickly and threw the corpse-controlling secret record back. However, the two experts turned a blind eye to it. They passed by the corpse-controlling secret record and attacked the sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect. Damn it! The sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect cursed. Right now, the only way out was to fight to the death.
The leader of the Wild Dragon Manor was an expert with 120 dragons. The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect was 123 dragons, and the sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect was only 121 dragons.
Facing the joint attack of the two experts, he was instantly defeated. In less than 3 seconds, he was defeated. Die! The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect swung his sword and a head flew. It was the sect leader of the Sun-Moon sect. Miserable. It could only be described with the word miserable. The Wild Dragon Manor and the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect had already reached an agreement. After seeing the actions of the two experts, the rest of the people also carried out a bloodbath plan on the Sun-Moon sect. Without a leader, the Sun-Moon sect was completely annihilated in less than half a minute with the addition of the two experts. At this moment, the main hall was filled with blood and headless corpses. It was a horrifying sight. There were only two forces left in the main hall. No, there was still someone who did not belong to the two forces. Yi Xian. This brat is actually still holding on? I'll deal with him. The eyes of the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect flashed as he rushed towards Yi Xian.
However, what he didn't know was that the blood of the many corpses on the ground was all flowing into the golden coffin in the center of the hall.
No, it couldn't be said to be flowing. It was being sucked in by the golden coffin. Rumble. The sect leader of the Heaven Hatred Sword sect paused again. He looked around and discovered this strange phenomenon. What's going on? Why is the blood flowing to the two silver corpse statues and the golden coffin? Strange, this is too strange. Even the blood on my wound seems to be about to gush out. Not good, this must be a trap, everyone be careful. The people of the two major forces carefully retreated. The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect was also attracted by the commotion and hurriedly retreated. There was so much blood on the ground that was sucked into the golden coffin, dyeing that area red. At the same time, the feet of the two silver corpse statues were also soaked with thick blood. Look, the blood is crawling onto the silver corpse statue. Someone shouted. Everyone's eyes condensed and found that it was true. In the blink of an eye, the two silver corpse statues were covered with blood and turned into two bloody corpses. Kacha! Suddenly, a crisp sound spread, and a bloody corpse statue cracked. Kacha! The other blood corpse statue also began. Immediately afterward, everyone saw that the two bloody corpse statues began to tremble and open their eyes. They are alive, they are alive! Someone exclaimed. Everyone was shocked. Just now, the Qilian Lord said that the two silver corpse statues had been sealed and could not move. At the same time, they were also laid out a formation, which was extremely hard. The sect leader of the Heaven Hatred Sword sect had once attacked and could not destroy it. But now it seems that the layer of stone outside them seems to be the formation that seals them. Although the three major forces came in, they had already killed a chain silver corpse, but at this time, the two silver corpse statues have become two bloody corpses. This strength was definitely much stronger than that of the silver chain corpse. Be careful. It's a depressing feeling. Quick, look at the corpse control secret record. I feel the murderous intent. Be careful. A group of experts looked at the two bloody corpses and shook off the stones on their bodies. After so many years, I finally saw the light again. The bloody corpse statue holding the big sword suddenly spoke. This sentence, but let everyone present tremble for a moment. Your mother, have been dead for so many years, can you still speak? You know, the Qilian Lord is the 6th Redwood Lord, and it has been 100 years since he disappeared. No, the important thing is that this scarlet blood corpse can actually speak. Is this a living person or 4 people? Don't be surprised. The master refined us into a silver corpse when we were still alive. The bloody corpse holding the crescent blade grinned, revealing scarlet teeth. When they were alive, they were refined into a silver corpse. Hearing this, everyone was shuddering. This Qilian Horde Lord is actually so deranged? Take the corpses of people, the corpses of holy beasts to refine, and even use the living to refine. This is too cruel. Haha, it's all thanks to you. Without the blood of you experts, we wouldn't have been able to become bloody corpses. Yes, we have to thank you. The 2 bloody corpses said with a smile. The sect master of the heaven-hating sword sect and the house master of the wild dragon house looked at each other, and the former immediately asked, "So, all of this is a conspiracy, and this corpse control secret record is also fake?" Of course, this is the arrangement of the dying master. He is the only one who knows how to control the corpse. This corpse control secret record is fake. The big sword blood corpse said. These words made it difficult for everyone present to accept. It was not easy for them to come here, for the corpse control secret record and the corpses. Now that they know that these are fake, it is inevitable that they will be disappointed. Of course, the people of the Sun Moon sect are even more miserable. For a fake thing, they were jointly exterminated by the 2 forces. Master, the master you are talking about, is it the Qilian Lord? The house master of the wild dragon house asked in horror. That's right, and his corpse is lying in this golden coffin. The big sword blood corpse nodded. Sure enough. Everyone present is not a fool. After seeing the 2 bloody corpses resurrected, they immediately guessed that the golden armored corpse king should be the Qilian Lord himself. So, he also wants to be resurrected? Chapter 407. Chapter 407. Chapter 407. Submit? Hearing this, the great blade blood corpse nodded and said, "Yes, Master was seriously injured back then, and his lifespan was almost up. Therefore, he sealed us here, set up this trap, and waited for his resurrection." The great blade blood corpse continued. Master was an expert of the 2nd level of Imperial Qi at his peak. The condition for his resurrection is your blood. Although it can't restore him to his peak, it's enough to revive him. Gulp. When they heard these words, everyone present swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Blood. Resurrection required blood. Although the 2 blood corpses did not say it clearly, everyone present knew that the 2 blood corpses would kill all of them to ensure the resurrection of the golden armored corpse king. Everyone could not help but take a few steps back and look at them covetously. They still did not know the realm of the 2 blood corpses. At this time, the great blade blood corpse suddenly looked at the wild dragon manor master and the sect leader of the heavenly hate sword sect, and said, "The 2 of you are about the same level as us when we were alive. Now, I will give you a chance to kill the others and then submit to my master. This way, Master can also refine you into blood corpses, and you will have a long life." What? The wild dragon manor master and the sect leader of the heavenly hate sword sect looked at each other, as if they had heard wrongly. Let them submit to the golden armored corpse king? This was not the point. The point was that if they submitted, they would be refined into something like these 2 blood corpses, neither human nor ghost. How could this be tolerated? Ah, sect leader. The elders immediately cried out in alarm. If these 2 experts joined forces, they would be able to kill all of them, not to mention the 2 blood corpses with unknown strength. The wild dragon manor master and the sect leader of the heavenly hate sword sect looked at each other again. The latter shouted coldly, "Impossible! What kind of joke was this? How was it possible for them to submit and kill their own sect's elders? Are you refusing?" The great blade blood corpse glared at him. "If you want us to submit, then we'll have to see if you have the ability." The sect leader of the heavenly hate sword sect's eyes flashed. He, the great blade blood corpse grinned and said, "All right, if that's the case, then watch carefully." Just as he finished speaking, a few dragons suddenly flew up around him. 1, 2, 3, 15, 16. When the 16 wyverns rose up, everyone was shocked. These were not 16 small wyverns, but 16 large wyverns. This great saber-blood corpse actually had a strength of 160 dragons. They were about to faint. He didn't know if they were alive or dead, but they could still use true chi. Most importantly, they had 160 dragon powers. What the F***ck? How could he still fight? Everyone was in despair. 160 dragon power was enough to slaughter them. The sect master of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and the house master of the Wild Dragon Manor exchanged glances again. Their hearts were already shaken. They were only around 120 dragons, so how could they fight against 160 blood corpses? Moreover, there were 2 blood corpses. Could it be that I'm going to die here today? The sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect stood rooted to the ground. He was the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect. He had tens of thousands of disciples under his command and countless experts. But here he was like an ant. As long as the blood corpse wanted to, his head would immediately fall to the ground. At this time, the golden coffin had finished absorbing all the blood. Oh, it's done. I still need some blood. I can give you some time. 10 breaths. If I don't get your answer after 10 breaths, you will become the sacrifice for my master's resurrection, the great saber-blood corpse said coldly. 10 breaths, that was 10 breaths of time. It was very short, but for an expert like the sect master of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect, he could think of many things. The sect master of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and the house master of the Wild Dragon Manor hesitated. Sect master, you won't. House master, don't. Don't agree to it. At most, we'll just die. Sect master, do you want to become something that is neither human nor ghost? Let's fight to the death. This kind of demon will definitely be punished by the heavenly Tao. The people behind them were shouting.
At the same time, the 2 people who were fighting on the other side had already stopped and retreated to the side.
F***ck, 160 dragon powers, and he can even use true chi. Xianxia couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He suddenly felt that he had made a mistake. If he had used Beast King's rampage to kill these people from the beginning, his strength would have increased a lot. Moreover, if he had done that, the 2 blood corpses might have been resurrected. However, would Xianxia be afraid of them by then? At this time, Xianxia was secretly calculating in his mind. With his 101 dragon powers, if he used Beast King's rampage, his speed would soar to more than 130 dragons. Then, if he used agility, his speed would be close to 160 dragons. However, the 2 blood corpses were different from the copper corpses, iron corpses, and silver corpses. They could use true chi, which meant that they could also use martial arts. Xianxia's face darkened. It seemed that there was only one way for him to go now, and that was to get those interspatial rings and break through. However, this was very dangerous because if they attracted attention, it was very likely that they would die on the way. With a gloomy face, he quietly approached the corner where the corpse of the sect master of the Sun Moon sect was. Elder Yan also lost his will to fight and moved closer to his own team. Now they had a common enemy, and that was the 2 blood corpses. All right, 10 breaths have passed. What do you think? The blood corpse with the big saber asked. The sect master of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect and the house master of the Wild Dragon House looked at each other again and then shouted, "Kill!" As soon as he said that, he and the house master of the Wild Dragon House attacked the 2 blood corpses. When the dozens of people behind them saw this, they were overjoyed and attacked crazily. Although the gap in their realms was too big, they had the advantage in numbers. This battle was not a complete massacre. However, when the 2 blood corpses moved, they realized that they were wrong. This was indeed a massacre. The few of them were of no use at all. They could not catch the 2 blood corpses' figures at all. Hiss! 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 A series of crisp sounds echoed in the main hall. Some of the people who died had their heads chopped off, some were directly cut in half, and some were cut in half at the waist, waiting for death to come. In any case, they could not escape the attack of the 2 blood corpses. In the main hall, blood flowed like a river again. At the same time, Xianxia had also used the Beast King rampage and rushed to the corpse of the sect master of the Sun Moon sect. The sect master of the Sun Moon sect died very miserably. After he died, his blood was sucked dry and he became a dried corpse. Yi Xian did not bother to look at him and directly took off the interspatial ring. Chapter 408.
Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Fighting the blood corpses alone, ding. The host has broken through to 104 dragon power. 104 dragon power. With the Beast King's rampage, it would be 136 dragon power. Multiplying that by 2, it would be more than 160 dragon power. Yi Xian's current cultivation level was second only to the 2 blood corpses.
Let's fight.
Yi Xian gritted his teeth and charged toward the corpses of the sect elders of the Sun Moon sect. What he needed to do now was to collect the interspatial rings and break through. On the other side, the 2 blood corpses were very fast. They could have used their martial arts to kill these people easily. However, they had been quiet for a long time and had not killed anyone for a long time. Therefore, they used their strength to cut people in half and enjoyed the pleasure of killing.
This gave Yi Xian precious time.
Ding. The host has broken through to 105 dragon power.
Ding.
The host has broken through to 106 dragon power.
Ding.
The host has broken through to 107 dragon power. After Yi Xian collected the interspatial rings of the sect elders of the Sun Moon sect, he also broke through to 107 dragon power. He turned around and saw that the house master of the Wild Dragon House and the sect leader of the Heavenly Hatred Sword sect had been killed. Not only that, but Elder Yen had also fallen. Yi Xian wanted to kill these people personally, but he was killed by the 2 blood corpses. As long as I get those interspatial rings, I will definitely surpass 110 dragon power. When that time comes, my speed will surpass 170 dragon power. Yi Xian thought to himself as he burst out.
Ha ha ha. Run, run,
run as fast as you can. The blood corpse laughed maniacally. At this moment, he suddenly saw a figure from the corner of his eyes.
So fast.
The blood corpse was stunned. He did not expect that there would be an expert hiding among these weaklings.
Second brother, I'll leave the rest to you.
He shouted and rushed toward Yi Xian.
Oh no.
Yi Xian's face turned gloomy. The blood corpse had 160 dragon power. Yi Xian used the Beast King's rampage, which meant that he had 140 dragon power at most. He only had speed. If he fought head-on, he would be killed instantly. Avoid him. That was Yi Xian's idea, but it was not easy.
Boy,
I'll give you a chance to surrender.
The blood corpse stopped Yi Xian.
Surrender. Yi Xian stopped in his tracks and said, "Give me all of their universe rings and I'll submit." The great saber blood corpse was stunned. These interspatial rings were nothing to him.
Haha. Sure, go get them.
This broadsword blood corpse had been silent for 100 years, and its mind was a little slow. It actually allowed Yi Xian to pass by just like that. However, this wasn't his fault. After all, who would have thought that Yi Xian had a devouring system? At this time, the great sword blood corpse had also killed the others. Yi Xian was the only human left in the main hall. "Brother, let him pass," the blood corpse shouted. The blood corpse was interested to see what Yi Xian was going to do. They knew that Yi Xian was not just after the interspatial rings. He must be up to something. 2 fools. Yi Xian was secretly happy. He thought that it would be difficult to break through, but he did not expect it to be so easy. He collected the interspatial rings at full speed, but he did not devour them directly. Instead, he stored them and planned to give the 2 blood corpses a surprise later. The total number of people from the 3 great powers was close to 100. Yi Xian had only collected close to 30 of them, and when he gathered the remaining universe rings together, his entire body trembled. Confidence. That was a sudden surge of confidence. "Boy, you've collected everything, haven't you?" The blood corpse looked at Yi Xian. "Not a single one." Yi Xian answered coldly. "I know you don't really want to surrender to my king. Show me what tricks you have." The blood corpse said coldly. Yi Xian was shocked. He did not expect the blood corpse to know that he was pretending to surrender. However, that was no longer important. Beast King Rampage's time has passed. I can't waste any more time. He focused and immediately devoured the items that he had just put into the devouring space. Ding! The host has broken through to 110 dragon power. 3 dragon power. These items were only enough for Yi Xian to break through 3 times. It was too little, but Yi Xian had expected it.
110 dragon power. With Beast King Rampage, he could reach 143 dragon power. With the addition of his agility, his speed had exceeded 170 dragon power. He estimated that his speed should be about the same as the two blood corpses. However, he was still 20 dragon power away from them. Moreover, he was fighting alone. Therefore, there was a tough battle ahead. Good boy, you broke through so many dragon power. I underestimated you. But in my eyes, you're still trash. The blood corpse's eyes flickered.
He turned around and said, "Second brother, don't interfere."
It was obvious that the blood corpse wanted to fight Yi Xian one-on-one. This was exactly what Yi Xian wanted.
All right, if it's a one-on-one, I have a better chance of winning.
Yi Xian thought to himself.
Come on.
The blood corpse could not help but attack. A crescent blade slashed through the air.
He was using martial arts.
Whoosh! Yi Xian unleashed his full speed.
He dodged the slash and faced it head-on. Underworld swordsmanship. Sword descends to the underworld.
Blood burst slash.
In the blink of an eye, the two of them were fighting.
A human and a blood corpse.
There was a difference of 20 dragon power between them. Under normal circumstances, a difference of 20 dragon power would usually result in instant death.
However, Yi Xian did not do that.
His speed was even faster than the blood corpse's.
You're quite capable, kid.
If it weren't for the fact that I've been dormant for 100 years and haven't gotten used to it, I would have killed you long ago.
The blood corpse said arrogantly.
Indeed, at his peak, he only had 130 dragon power. After he was refined into a silver corpse, his realm dropped, but in exchange, he had a long lifespan. Now that he had evolved from a silver corpse to a blood corpse, his strength had increased by 30 dragon power. Therefore, he had not gotten used to it yet. This meant that his strength was lower than 160 dragon power.
Still not used to it? Good news. Yi Xian's eyes widened.
His opponent had not gotten used to his new realm, which meant that his chances of winning were higher.
Clang, clang, clang.
After a few rounds of battle, Yi Xian also understood that the crescent blade in the blood corpse's hand was a mid-grade celestial artifact.
This was bad news for him. If this continues, I'll lose for sure. Yi Xian thought to himself. He was only qualified to fight the blood corpse because he had used Beast King Rampage. If the duration of Beast King Rampage passed, he would be instantly killed by the blood corpse. Chapter 409.
Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Awakening.
If he used up his trump card, Beast King Rampage, then Yi Xian would be dead meat. He pondered for a moment and finally decided to use an extreme method.
Blood for blood. This was because he found that the broadsword bloody corpse was wearing an interspatial ring on its left hand. The blood corpse could use true chi and martial arts, which meant that it could also use interspatial rings.
Let's do this. Yi Xian's eyes shone brightly.
He held the Dragon Slayer sword in one hand and slashed at the blood corpse.
Haha, you want to trade arms with me? I'll grant you your wish.
The blood corpse immediately understood Yi Xian's intention, but it had no intention of dodging. It raised its hand and slashed at Yi Xian's head. Yi Xian suddenly dodged and slashed at the blood corpse's left arm with his crescent blade. At the same time, his Dragon Slayer sword had already cut into the blood corpse's arm. Fortunately, the defense of this large saber blood corpse wasn't very strong, so it was directly slashed down by Yi Xian's sword.
Rip!
Two clear and loud sounds rang out as the two arms were separated from the main body.
The blood corpse laughed arrogantly. It swept out at lightning speed and cut a big hole in Yi Xian's stomach. Originally, Yi Xian would not have been hit.
However, his target was the arm, so he had to bear the injury.
Yi Xian's left arm and shoulder were cut off.
There was a hole in his abdomen.
He was in great pain.
However, he felt that it was all worth it.
Haha, kid, the blood corpse refined by Master has extremely strong recovery ability. In less than 2 seconds, I will be able to grow a new one.
The great sword blood corpse laughed maniacally again.
Is that so? Yi Xian's lips curled up slightly.
His wound was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye.
What?
Dao and Bloody Corpse were both stunned. They subconsciously glanced at their left arm and realized that their recovery speed was actually slower than Yi Xian's.
How could a human have such a recovery speed?
However, in the next moment, His expression became extremely gloomy because he saw that the number of Yi Xian's wyverns had changed. Only then did he recall that Yi Xian had a special ability that allowed him to instantly increase his cultivation level. Originally, Yi Xian only had 143 dragons. However, after obtaining the universe ring of the Great Saber Blood Corpse, his entire person was different.
Ding. Host has broken through to 115 dragon power. When the system notification rang out in Yi Xian's mind, his 143 draconic force suddenly increased to 150 draconic force. Right now, he had a speed comparable to 180 dragon strength. The expressions of the big saber blood corpse and the big sword blood corpse suddenly changed. They had a bad feeling. Big brother, let me help you. The sword blood corpse saw that the situation was not right and immediately rushed forward. The Dao blood corpse did not object. Instead, he held his crescent blade with one hand and rushed toward Yi Xian. My speed was about the same as yours just now. Even if you get used to it now, your speed won't increase by much. However, my speed has increased by nearly 10 dragon power. Now, do you still dare to fight me? Suddenly, a murderous intent appeared. Without waiting for his left arm to recover, Yi Xian attacked again. After breaking through, his speed had obviously increased compared to the two blood corpses. Although it was only his speed, it was enough to deal with the two blood corpses. Clang, clang, clang. The two blood corpses cooperated well, but they could not keep up with Yi Xian's speed. Even if two more blood corpses joined in, it would be useless. In the third round of the battle, a different sound finally rang out. This sound was not the sound of the two blood corpses' heads being cut off. Instead, it was the sound of the entire main hall shaking. What a strong sense of oppression. Yi Xian suddenly felt a huge pressure from the golden coffin in the center of the main hall. It's the master. The master is going to wake up. The Dao blood corpse exclaimed. What? This sentence scared Yi Xian half to death. How could he not understand that the master in the mouth of the Dao blood corpse was the Qi Lian Lord? It's over, and I forgot about it. Until now, Yi Xian remembered this thing. That is, the resurrection needs human blood. However, he had forgotten about this matter. His face suddenly sank to the bottom of the valley. At this time, the main hall did not have any exit. How could he escape? Just when he was shocked, the sound in the main hall suddenly became louder, and then the surrounding doors were directly opened. Not good, the master wakes up. Thousands of corpses kneel. The Dao blood corpse opened his eyes. This mechanism has been set as early as hundreds of years ago. As long as the golden armor general, that is, the Qi Lian Lord is resurrected, then all iron corpses and copper corpses will come to meet. However, to Yi Xian, this was a shocking piece of good news. Go. Yi Xian seemed to have seen hope. He didn't care about the two blood corpses and directly turned around to leave. He used the speed of 180 dragon strength to rush into a large door. The Dao blood corpse saw this and was ready to catch up, but was stopped by the Dao blood corpse. Big brother, what are you doing? The Dao blood corpse was surprised. The Dao blood corpse replied, Don't chase, the master has just woken up and is extremely weak. We have to stay with him to avoid accidents. After his reminder, the great sword blood corpse also reacted and nodded. That's right, and that door leads to the netherworld abyss. There is a flying centipede of the second order Qi controlling realm there. If he breaks in, he will die. Booming. At this time, the golden coffin suddenly opened, and immediately a man in golden armor sat up. This man in golden armor is naturally the Qi Lian Lord of 100 years ago. Congratulations to the master for waking up. Da Dao blood corpse and Da Dao blood corpse kneeled on one knee and said respectfully. At the same time, a large number of iron corpses came in from all directions, all kneeling. The golden armor man stood up from the golden coffin, the pair of bloody eyes blinked, and the corner of his mouth was slightly raised. At the same time, Yi Xian, who rushed into a passage, also killed all the way out. The speed of 180 dragons made him invincible. Any iron corpse in the way was killed by him. If it was in the past, he would definitely collect the corpses of these iron corpses. But at this time the situation was urgent, and he did not know when the Qi Lian Lord would catch up. So he ran wildly. This is a road, there is no fork in the road, so he ran all the way down. After a while, his speed was reduced, and the duration of the Beast King's fury passed. But to be on the safe side, He used the Beast King's fury again, and his speed sword again. Chapter 410.
Chapter 410 Back to the Netherworld Abyss. Huff, huff, that scared me to death. But why didn't the two blood corpses and the golden armored corpse king chase after me? Yi Xian panted heavily, very puzzled. Even so, he did not think too much about it. It was already very good to be able to survive. He looked around and found that he had rushed out of a cave. At this time, there was a purple fog. Seeing this, Yi Xian could not help but be startled. "Is this the Netherworld Abyss?" he murmured. The Netherworld Abyss was the place he had barged into to avoid Elder Yan's pursuit. But now, he had entered again. The Netherworld Abyss is a dangerous place in the Redwood Territory. No one dares to enter. It is said that even the Redwood Territory Lord does not dare to. Yi Xian was helpless. Even the Redwood Territory Lord, who was in the spirit realm, did not dare to enter. He, who was in the spirit realm, was probably doomed. It's impossible to turn back. It seems that I can only find a way out here. Yi Xian glanced behind him, then quickly entered the purple fog. At this time, it was as if he was walking on a single plank bridge. One end of the bridge was a tiger, and the other was a lion. He was in a dilemma. It was said that the Netherworld Abyss was filled with poisonous creatures with over 100 dragon power. In addition to the purple fog, it was the most dangerous place in the Redwood Territory. However, Yi Xian had the blood of the sacred tree of life in his body. He was not afraid of poison, but he was afraid of those stronger sacred beasts, such as the flying centipede of the Royal Air Level 2. After Yi Xian entered the purple fog, he took out his compass. He remembered that when he was chased by Elder Yan, he went all the way north into the Netherworld Abyss. So this time, he needed to go south. Maybe he could return to that place. He held the Bahuang sword in his hand and walked carefully. At this time, he was an expert with 115 dragon power. If he used Beast King Rage, he could reach 150 dragon power. However, if he encountered some powerful sacred beasts and was ambushed when he reacted, it would be a tragedy. So he was very careful. He walked for a while, and suddenly a sound entered his ears. His eyes flashed, and he suddenly turned around. Hiss! The dragon-slaying sword struck something and it fell to the ground. Yi Xian focused his eyes and realized that it was a small green snake as thick as a finger. At this moment, the small snake had been cut in half, but the two halves of its body were still writhing. At that moment, Yi Xian finished it off with another slash. The little green snake died in an instant. However, its nerves still allowed it to bite, and its tail continued to twist. Yi Xian put the corpse into his devouring space. He estimated that this little green snake was about 115 dragon sacred beast, just like him. It would be great if everyone here was at this level. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. Now, he only had one chance to use Beast King's rampage, and he had to use it carefully. He continued forward. At this time, 2 hours had passed since Yi Xian entered the Netherworld Abyss. In this half an hour, he encountered many sacred beasts, and all of them were poisonous. The most powerful one was a killer bee with 130 dragon sacred beast. Yi Xian did not react in time and was accidentally stung, and he was in pain for an entire hour. The pain he suffered in this hour was more than the pain he suffered in the past 3 days. Fortunately, he had the bloodline of the sacred tree of life, or else he would have continued to feel pain until his nerves collapsed. There were many sacred beasts in the Netherworld Abyss, and Yi Xian also collected some corpses. He saved some corpses to use Beast King's rampage, and then devoured the rest of the corpses. These corpses allowed him to break through from 115 dragon power to 117 dragon power. His self-defense ability also increased. At the same time, it also increased his chances of breaking through to the spirit realm by 2%, reaching 27%. This chance was less than 1 in 3. This chance of breaking through was actually his biggest trump card. If the golden armored corpse king caught up, and he could not defeat it with Beast King's rampage, he would try to break through. Although there was only a 1 in 4 chance, this was the only thing he could do. Fortunately, breaking through from the spirit realm to the spirit realm could increase the success rate by consuming treasures. Yi Xian memorized these treasures in his heart. At this time, he was wondering if the nether grass that could increase the chances of breaking through by 10% was in the Netherworld Abyss. If he could obtain it, then his chances of breaking through would reach 37%. Nether grass, the Netherworld Abyss, Hope is here. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. He was risking his life to find the nether grass. It would be best if he could find it, but if he could not, it was fine. After all, his main goal was to leave the netherworld abyss. He continued to walk south. After walking for another half an hour, he suddenly stopped. He did not dare to make a sound, because there seemed to be a huge thing passing by above his head.
Hiss! A hissing sound entered Yi Xian's ears. He had heard this sound before. A flying centipede that was comparable to a level 2 flying centipede. Can't see me, can't see me, can't see me. Yi Xian stood in the same place as he muttered in his heart. A level 2 flying centipede had at least 200 dragon power. At the same time, it was also the ruler of the netherworld abyss. If he was noticed by this thing, Yi Xian would not be able to survive even if he had 10 lives. After sensing that the flying centipede had left, Yi Xian let out a sigh of relief. If something had ambushed him just now, he would have been finished. After such a thing happened, his footsteps quickened. However, 2 minutes after the flying centipede passed by, Yi Xian suddenly felt that something was wrong. He felt that he had been here before. At this time, the formation-breaking master bloodline in his body began to take effect. He realized that there should be a maze formation here. What's going on? Why would there be a maze formation in a damned place like the netherworld abyss? Yi Xian said in surprise. The netherworld abyss was the most dangerous place in the Redwood territory. Even the Redwood territory lord did not dare to enter. However, there was a maze formation in such a dangerous place. What was going on? Could it be that there is some kind of treasure here? Yi Xian guessed in his heart. He was very curious, but also very afraid. Good things were often accompanied by danger. Many heaven and earth treasures were guarded by powerful saint beasts. Therefore, he dismissed the idea and decided to get out of here first. Then, he took out an earth tool that he had once forged and inserted it into the ground. However, this maze formation was very powerful. He walked back in less than a minute. He was very helpless, but he was very calm because there were usually no saint beasts in a maze formation. Chapter 4:11. Chapter 4:11 Great upheaval in Redwood region now. Yi Xian's bloodline was full. His combat bloodline was the Sword Emperor bloodline, his physique bloodline was the Beast King bloodline, and his support bloodline was the Sacred Tree of Life bloodline. If he wanted to fuse with another top-notch bloodline, he would need the bloodline expansion window. However, he currently did not have the ability to do so. However, what he did not expect the most was that he was trapped in this maze formation. Furthermore, he was trapped for over a month. More than a month later, Yi Xian finally came out of the maze. At the same time, he also left the netherworld abyss. During this month, Yi Xian was on the verge of going crazy. He had lost count of how many times he had gone around in circles. The treasure-hunting deer bloodline in his body boiled up countless times, indicating that there were supreme-grade heavenly materials and earthly treasures around him, but he couldn't find them. Not only that, in the past month or so, the flying centipede had flown over his head at least 50 times. At first, he would remind them to be scared, but later on, he would calmly watch the flying centipede pass by. That was because he felt that the flying centipede was just a decoration. Other than flying around in the sky and crying out for no reason, it didn't notice him at all. Of course, this was under the condition that he didn't jump up or ride Megatron in the sky. This flying centipede was the guardian of the netherworld abyss. At this time, outside the netherworld abyss. Mother **K, I've been trapped here for more than a month. Which idiot set up this maze? Yi Xian couldn't help but curse. He reckoned that there must be something good in that place protected by the maze formation. There might even be nether grass. However, with his current strength, he was still unable to break through that maze formation. Fortunately, he had successfully walked out of the netherworld abyss. At the same time, his realm had also broken through to 120 dragons' power. He had a 30% chance of breaking through to the spirit realm, but he did not dare to try. After leaving the netherworld abyss, Yi Xian quickly left. He did not want to stay in this damned place any longer. His current position was near where he had been chased into the netherworld abyss. Forget it. Let's not think about it anymore. Let's find a place to eat first. Yi Xian did not want to create more trouble for himself and left. There was a city nearby, so he decided to go into the city and eat something first.
This city was called Nether City, and it was the closest city to the Nether Abyss. The reason why there were people living in this city was because the Saint Beasts had never left the Nether Abyss after its formation. Otherwise, this city would have been abandoned long ago. After entering Nether City, Yi Xian found a restaurant and ordered some dishes. It was at this moment that he heard another shocking thing. It turned out that during this 1+ month that he was trapped in the Netherworld Abyss, a major event had occurred in the Redwood Territory. The sects in Redwood Territory were massacred by a mysterious army. And this legion is the Corpse Legion of the Lord of Qilian. Just the tens of thousands of copper corpses were enough to wipe out all the sects, not to mention the thousands of iron corpses that numbered over 100 dragons. The Qilian Lord occupied all the sects in a short month, and then pointed the spear at a city. Redwood City. Redwood City was the main city of the Redwood Territory, and also the place where the Redwood Territory Lord lived. Simply put, the Qilian Lord wanted to re-own the Redwood Territory. Although the current Redwood Lord was a spirit realm master, he only had a strength of 140 dragons. In the face of 2 blood corpses of 160 dragons, there was still a lot of pressure. However, what made Yi Xian most surprised was that the Qilian Lord and the 2 blood corpses did not seem to have appeared, because the 2 people at the next table never mentioned it. The Qilian Lord should have been resurrected, but there may have been an accident. Maybe it was because he was very weak after the resurrection, or he was afraid of attracting the attention of other territory masters.
Yi Xian guessed in his heart.
From the discussion of the 2 people at the next table, he also knew that now the Corpse Legion had been pressed to the edge of the Redwood City, and in a while, the Redwood City would be massacred. Therefore, the residents of Redwood City had migrated to other places, and even those families had migrated. When Yi Xian heard the news, his heart was also secretly thinking that the Qilian Lord's ambition was too big. He wanted to occupy all the sects in the Redwood Territory, and then refine those masters into copper corpses or iron corpses.
Yi Xian suddenly became interested.
Because now he was not the same as he was a month ago. 120 dragons, and if he used the Beast King's rampage, it would reach 156 dragons. At that time, he could definitely kill the 2 blood corpses. However, the golden armored Corpse King that had never appeared made him somewhat afraid.
Let's go and inquire about it first. Yi Xian thought about it in his heart and then left.
Fortunately, the Corpse Legion did not crush the city, otherwise he would not even have food to eat. After leaving, he went to investigate, to find out what realm the Qilian Lord was when he disappeared 100 years ago. Then, he was ready to go to Redwood City to have a look. If the Corpse Legion were all Holy Beast iron corpses, it would be a huge fortune for him. Moreover, if the Corpse Legion attacked Redwood City, there would be a large number of deaths. At that time, Yi Xian could fish in troubled waters, and maybe he could break through to 130 dragons. After inquiring, Yi Xian also understood that when the Qilian Lord disappeared, he had already exceeded 140 dragons, but he had not broken through to the spirit realm. Yi Xian estimated that even if the Qilian Lord was resurrected, it should be around 170 or 180 dragons. This kind of realm, even he could deal with it now. Therefore, Yi Xian did not hesitate to rush to Redwood City. The corpse army pressured the border, and the surrounding cities of Redwood City had become empty cities. At the same time, the Redwood Lord also invited many experts to resist this corpse army. At this time, Yi Xian had already broken through to 99 dragons in Wei Zhentian, and arrived in the sky around Redwood City. Wei Zhentian was also stuck at 99 dragons. If he wanted to break through to 100 dragons and break through to the spirit realm, he would need something called the Black Jade Essence. Oregon Wei Zhentian's breakthrough was much easier than Yi Xian's. He only needed the Black Jade Essence or to break through after eating it. However, right now, Yi Xian did not have time to help him find it. It is said that the Corpse Legion is divided into 10 groups, and each small army has 1,000 iron corpses and 10,000 copper corpses. Yi Xian rode Wei Zhentian and looked around, and he accidentally found the station of an army. He looked down from thousands of meters away and found that there were humans and holy beasts in the army, and the leaders were several human silver corpses. At this time, Yi Xian also understood why the Qilian Lord wanted to attack Redwood City.
Chapter 412.
Chapter 412. Attacking Redwood City. Qilian was here to take back what belonged to him. Although this was acceptable, no one would want their lord to be something that was neither human nor ghost. Right at this time, the 10,000 Corpse Legion below suddenly moved. Could it be that they're starting to attack Redwood City? Yi Xian lowered his might shocks the world a little.
He glanced around but didn't find the two blood corpses.
In that case, all of you walking corpses will become my experience points. Yi Xian's eyes widened, and he directly fell. Before he landed, he launched a storm-like attack. Plop! A loud sound rang out, and Yi Xian landed in the middle of the corpse army.
Only he dared to do this.
Yi Xian looked around and found that there were many human iron corpses around. He immediately frowned and showed a look of disgust.
Yi Xian was helping them free.
The few human silver corpses in the lead also knew that someone had broken into their army, but they didn't care and turned to leave. They thought that Yi Xian would definitely be drowned by the corpse tide. However, they were wrong. They heard the loud sounds behind them. The human who broke into their corpse army hadn't been killed yet.
What a joke.
Yi Xian had 120 dragons of strength and 3 bloodlines. He could kill these iron corpses as easily as stepping on ants. He was so busy that he didn't have time to pick up the corpses. Damn human. How dare he disturb Master's plan?
I'll kill him.
A human silver corpse coldly snorted and turned around to rush back. He only had 115 dragons. When he rushed near Yi Xian and saw Yi Xian's realm, he regretted it. Yi Xian had 120 dragons of strength.
Master gave me a body.
Even if it's 120 dragons, I still have the guts to fight. This human silver corpse was very brave and directly rushed forward.
Yi Xian turned his head and saw him.
With a sweep of his sword, he cut open his head.
What a joke.
A mere 115 dragons dared to find trouble with him. The reason why Yi Xian chose to land within the army and not look for trouble with those human silver corpses was because he was afraid that after killing these silver corpses, the entire army would be leaderless and disperse in a hubbub. That was why he started with the iron corpses. If the entire army was scattered, then the surrounding cities and towns would be finished. Yi Xian did not want to become a sinner, so he had to avoid these silver corpses. This legion had 1,000 iron corpses and 10,000 bronze corpses. However, this number was rapidly decreasing. Yi Xian could easily kill dozens of iron corpses with a single strike of Dragon's Judgment. If he were to go to the copper corpses, he could probably kill hundreds of them with a single strike. Human bronze corpses and iron corpses were useless to him, so he only collected the corpses of saint beasts. His realm was also rising bit by bit.
Ding!
Host has broken through to 121 dragon power.
Ding!
Host has broken through to 122 dragon power.
Ding!
Host has broken through to 123 dragon power. In less than 3 minutes, this army of corpses was annihilated by Yi Xian, along with the few human silver corpses. Looking at the corpses on the floor, Yi Xian snorted coldly. This is only a small group of the real legion. There are still 9 more. Yi Xian thought to himself and quickly left. It seemed that this time, he could indeed break through to 130 dragon power. He rode on Wei Zhentian and circled around. As expected, he encountered a second small legion. He immediately rushed down again. This legion allowed him to increase his dragon power by 2, reaching 125 dragon power. He calculated in his heart. If all 10 legions were to be destroyed by him, 130 dragon power would be more than enough. Then, Yi Xian went to find the third small legion. After the third small legion was destroyed, he increased his dragon power by 1 more. However, when he found the fourth legion, it was already intercepted by a group of people. 100 people against an entire legion, Yi Xian watched from above. These 100 people all had the dragon power of 100, and the leader had the dragon power of 130. It seemed that they were experts from the big clans of Redwood City. The battle had been going on for a while. Fortunately, they did not have time to collect the corpses, so Yi Xian benefited. Soon, Yi Xian collected all the corpses and began to hunt the iron corpses.
Who is this person?
I've never seen him before. He's wearing a strange mask, but it's fine as long as he's on our side.
He's so strong.
He has 127 dragon power. When did our Redwood City have such an expert? These people were also surprised by Yi Xian's identity. However, Yi Xian was too lazy to pay attention to them. He focused on cleaning up. With the help of these people, Yi Xian had a much easier time. At the same time, the spoils of war were much fewer.
Damn it, I can't even increase my dragon power. Yi Xian was helpless. He immediately left and rushed to the next place. When he arrived at the 4th Legion, sure enough, there were also humans cleaning up. He still did not increase his dragon power. He estimated that if the remaining 6 legions of corpses were not held back, they should have already attacked Redwood City. Therefore, this time, he rushed directly to Redwood City. 6 small legions, at least 6,000 iron corpses, and 60,000 copper corpses. With such a huge number of people piling into Redwood City would definitely be razed to the ground. Fortunately, Redwood Lord was not too stupid. He had already gathered all the experts on a rock with the dragon power of 100 and watched from above. Redwood Lord was a spirit realm expert with the dragon power of 140. Other than that, the others were consecrated with the dragon power of 120 and 30. Where did this corpse legion come from? It almost destroyed my Redwood Lord. I heard that there is a faction called the Corpse Master Sect in the Ghost Tomb territory. All the disciples in the sect can refine corpses and control corpses. Could it be that the leader behind this corpse legion is a disciple of the Corpse Master Sect? Isn't the Ghost Tomb territory an intermediate territory? That's right. It is said that there are 3 lords in the Ghost Tomb territory. All 3 of them are spirit realm experts. Don't talk so much. Let's deal with this corpse legion first. The experts on the rock suddenly quieted down. Rumble. At this time, a rumbling sound came from afar. They're here, Lord. We'll go over here. The experts with the dragon power of 120 asked to leave. Be careful. Redwood Lord nodded. Immediately after, a series of loud sounds came from another direction. A few more people went forward and were ordered to destroy the Corpse Legion. Long ago, they had also formulated a plan. That was to first send 2 teams to clean up the Legion.